pretty much good to go. So I'll leave you over to the football pod. Tommy Rooney, Paddy Andrews, and James O'Donoghue.
How are you, lad? I don't know why there's 3 points here for me. You may take some of these.
Was that for us?
Yeah.
Jeez, it's going to be a long night, lads.
That's an awful looking pint.
Oh, jeez.
Your one there. Mark's will be sour by the time he's out as well.
Been
How are
there
you all
since
doing?
Morning, has it?
Lovely to be here in the Great Southern Hotel. The Football Pod Live. It's our third live show, really, isn't it? We were in Castlebar. We were in Dublin. What's it like to be in Killarney, James O'Donoghue?
It's great. No travelling here is the main thing. No day off work. But I got a few texts, all right, from Killarney people to be on my best behaviour tonight. But to be fair, the last time I was here, I delivered the most epic best man speech of all time. So,
You haven't spoke about that since.
I still have a bit of PTSD from that. So, no, great. Unbelievable football town, Killarney. So, you got, hopefully we're planning for 3 county championship teams next year if Legion get up. Fingers crossed.
What does that mean?
So,
He's in what, Junior C, is it?
Legion got relegated 2 years ago due to 2 very bad refereeing decisions.
It's always the referee.
No,
Always the ref.
But so you have to win the intermediate championship, which is the hardest championship.
Crokes are intermediate as well, are they?
No, Crokes are senior.
Oh, Crokes are senior. So Crokes are the big dogs in the town, are they?
They're the best team in the town, I heard.
Is there anyone from
Flute
Crokes here?
retired.
Is there anyone from Crokes here? No one.
Cancel that gag.
Is there anyone from Legion here?
Hey.
Oh, Village is out, Jimmy.
There we go.
Yeah, I told you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Legion Town.
Okay. And what's the story like? Is Clifford from Killarney?
When he plays well, he's Killarney. No, he's out now Killarney. Yeah. Spuss is just outside of town, but it's pure Killarney. So you have Spa, Legion, Crokes, and Fossa. We all towny teams.
That's a lot of football.
You have 2 senior, 2 intermediate, and that is strong. Like, you know, there wouldn't be many towns with that strength.
Was there ever a question about who you'd play for?
No, in Killarney. You're born into it, so you have no choice. There'd be very, very seldom if you transfer.
You wouldn't sign for Kilmacoe Crokes, no? A few quid in it for
The
you.
money's right. You never know. A car will go a long way, Paddy.
I'll talk to them.
But no, you're born and bred into it.
We're going to be looking later on. This has got a bit of traction online on Twitter earlier on. At the greatest Dublin Kerry team since the year 2000. Now, don't crucify us. It's a little bit like Sky Sports starting football in 1992. It is very difficult to pick it. So we might get you involved later on. Our special guest, Mark O'Shea, is going to be out. He might get the cast and vote too. But reputations are a big thing in Kerry football and getting a name. When did you know you were going to be a future footballer of the year?
Jeez, never. I never really thought I'd play for Kerry. I just loved playing, so I don't think it was ever.
Well, we have a bit of footage from when you were a bit younger now.
Oh, here we go.
We might have a look at this.
That's it.
That's not working for you, is it?
Is that a computer says no moment? Is it?
No, it's working everywhere else. It's just not working for you. Crokes versus Legion 2012. 2002. Under 12 final. James, talk to us about this. What is going on? Number 11 there, James O'Donoghue, struggling. Can't get by his man. Paddy, you were looking at this earlier.
I was.
James is going for a catch. You were never good over your head, were you?
We used to
Dodgy
always say
shoulders,
that with
Tom.
Dublin if we were playing Jimmy.
They're never conducive to aerial fielding.
Ah.
Bit of a dive.
That's the start of the disciplinary issues.
No, this is
20
another
years ago.
future Kerry start. Fionn Fitzgerald with the Brock there.
Oh my God.
Unbelievable stuff. But then you did redeem yourself towards the end. Top
what a
corner.
player.
Look at that, top ins.
Did it go in?
Top ins, yeah. Do you remember that final, 2002, under 12s?
Poor from the keeper. Like.
I don't, but I do actually. I remember we had a great. Yeah. Do you know what? They're unbelievable memories actually when I think about it, because you're playing like great games against fellas you're in school with and stuff like that, and if you won those games, it was like winning the most important game of all time. And Crokes and Legion, even when you're 11 and 12, like, you actually do have this hatred for each other, and it's born out of nothing. But it's just great to even look back at that now. It's unreal.
You're going to start crying already. How many pints do you have across the road there?
Paddy, you love Killarney.
I do, yeah.
You've been down here a bit, haven't you?
Yeah, it's fun. I would have never come when I was younger. We had a place, our family used to go to Wexford with a home down there, so we had summer holidays down there. And then when you're playing, obviously, for years with Dublin, your summers are gone. You're at home in Croke Park all the time. But it's going to be a long night. No, I would have started coming properly to Killarney during the summer probably 4 or 5 years ago. My own family, my wife's family. Playing a bit of golf, a few pints, great food, catching up with some of the Kerry boys as well. It's a great tradition, obviously, between our counties. It's a privilege to be part of it. We were always aware of that. The Dublin Kerry thing, which started kind of 50 years ago with some legendary players, and I know we'll touch on some of them later on. But we were always very aware of the connection between Dublin and Kerry from Micko and Heffo and the guys starting out back in the day. So for me, I was very fortunate to play for a decade and be part of that, and had a reasonably good record against Kerry, which was good. But coming down over the last few years and catching up with, obviously doing stuff with Jimmy and a couple of other guys as well, it's a great town, I have to say. And I know the Dubs like it. The Dubs do come down during the summer as well. So we had a good record down here as well.
Yeah, you did.
We always did all right against Kerry. Now,
We didn't do league, you see.
You didn't do fucking championship either.
Would you get out for pints after league games down here, or would you be straight?
No, we were brutal for that. We used to always go home. The only times we went out after league games were fucking Mayo for some reason. We knew we'd win, like. So it was. We were over in Castle. We had a couple of good nights in Castlebar and a couple of good nights in Westport. Now, to be fair, towards the end of our James team, he's actually beat us a couple of times over in Austin Stacks. They were tasty enough games. They were full on now. You were really rattled, like. No. I remember they were brilliant atmospheres there, and that's why we talk about in the pod a bit. National League is brilliant, like going to these games. We used to go down to Austin Stacks and the place was packed, or over to Castlebar and it was packed. It was just great atmosphere, and I know we'd probably talk about the Croke Park thing.
Any bit of a tighter field that you didn't like it?
No, well, I was useless in tighter fields as well. But no, we used to come down and we'd get out of here straight away. We'd drive home the same night, so we'd get back to Dublin about 3 o'clock. And the last couple of years we were beaten as well. So, but no, mainly good memories of coming down. Yeah.
Paddy, I think we're going to have a look at some of your moments with Kerry back in the day. You can all see them, so we can't see them here. Right. Don't worry, we'll edit it afterwards, so it won't look like this at home. I'm going to give you my laptop. The lads will get to see it. Let's have a look at Paddy Andrews in action.
Is going to need some help. He has it in the shape of Paddy Andrews. Paul Mannion's looking for it. Andrews has got space, takes on the shot. Back to within one.
Off the left.
Pure class, isn't it?
You could play football, couldn't you?
The odd time. No one knows I played football anymore. They just think I do a podcast. It's glory.
What was it about playing Kerry that got you going?
I think for the forward, the way Kerry played, like Dublin and Kerry kind of played the same way. We playing the front foot, try and attack a lot. I think traditionally there was always a bit of flair. We want to play the right way. So if you were a forward, and Jimmy, you'd have been the same against us. There was no blanket defences or any of that stuff. There was a confidence from ourselves, and you guys would have had the same when we played each other. It was going to be man on man and made the best team win. So we had a good run of it. But I would have preferred playing Kerry now than fucking Tyrone or any of them, to be honest.
Didn't always go your way, though.
No?
No. Didn't always go your way.
I know you're going with this one.
Yeah.
First ever game.
Yeah, so we might have a look at this now. We might go to 2009, Kerry Dublin. Anyone remember that?
I knew this was coming.
Let's have a listen to the commentary.
He's brought the art of the kick out, of course, to new levels, and one-on-one, it'll take a good one to beat him.
And there are 1 or 2 concerns about this Dublin full back line.
Yeah, there are, but Henry is the star turn, in my opinion. He's the pick of them. Bastick and Paddy Andrews, a little bit untested. Today represents a real opportunity and a real challenge.
It's a bit harsh, Kevin would say.
This man has been the key. Paul Galvin, Darrell O'Shea has been prominent as well. That goes away from O'Sullivan, who's been marked by Dennis Basket. Goal chance here for Kerry. It's the Gooch, and it's a goal.
What's gone there in the match? 10 seconds.
There's Paddy, top of the left post.
40 seconds.
Hey,
Paddy.
he's not wearing white boots there.
He's wearing white boots as a cornerback. What is going on? You playing cornerback? Come on. This is
He
reckless
must
stuff.
have got them for free.
Yeah, the video's still rolling there. It should be, but we've got a selection of images from that game.
It looks about right.
Paddy and the Gooch, yeah. There's the half-time score, 114 to 3 points.
We were shooting into the hill in the second half, though.
Why is Jared Brennan eating a cornetto?
He was about as much
sub.
use as I was.
Yeah.
Fuck me.
And then Paddy kind of resorted to different tactics then after that.
That didn't work either.
Got stuck in a little bit.
I think Gooch scored 123 from play.
You got booked for that.
I was like, Pat, send me off, will you?
Paddy,
You laugh at that. Like, do you know what? I remember going into that game. It was 09, so it was Pat Gilroy's first year. Dublin had never been an arse's roar to win the All-Ireland. We'd won a couple of Leinster championships. I think we scraped by Kildare. And it was the great Kerry team. You had won 4 or 5 All-Irelands in that decade. The O'Shea's, Gooch, Kennelly was back, Galvin, all of them. And these were all over the shop through the qualifiers. Like, Antrim nearly bet them.
Longford, Antrim,
Longford,
and
Sligo.
Sligo. Missed
Boy-
a penalty last minute.
Boys were all on the piss, and Jack had to drop them all. So we came in. This was like very Jurgen Klopp, the mentality monsters. That's what the Dubs like. We were coming into this, and we're like, this is a slam dunk against Kerry. Nailed on. We hadn't won a big game ever. The year before, we played Tyrone in the quarterfinals, and we lost by about 20 points as well. But we had the answers here. We were literally like, who are we playing in the semis? This would be grand. Ball gets thrown in. Gooch scores a goal from the throw up. I go, for fuck's sake. The full back line, as Kevin McStay, now very successful Mayo manager, rightly highlighted, was David Henry, who was a wing forward, and he was man marking Gooch. He was our man marker. I was like, oh, Jesus. Dennis Bastick was full back. He's a midfielder, and he was marking Tommy Walsh. He's going to deal with him. And the other corner for Kerry was Darren O'Sullivan, absolute speed merchant. So we're thinking, one thing you got to do, if you're dealing with speed, you need someone who's lightning quick to mark him. And I was like, who's the man for that? Me, turning like a fucking JCB. But at the time, we were going in going, yes, nailed on. We'll steamroll these lads. Gooch scores a goal from the throw-in. David Henry, who slides in, does a Phil Babb moment, and he breaks his hip off the post. And about a minute later, Collie Moran, who was a selector, was used to play with them, runs on. I was 21 at the time. I was looking around, oh, fucking hell. And he's like, Paddy, you're going to overmark the Gooch. I'm looking, what? Gooch? He goes, you know, you go over and mark him. I was like, I can't fucking mark him. This is on the pitch in the middle. This is like pure animal mentality monster. Like, I trot over to the Gooch. Is it all right if I stand here, Colin? Is it all right with this? And he's looking at me like, is this a fucking point? Your man's after winning an AIG competition to come down and play in the match. And I swear to God, for the next hour, we lost by 17 points in the end. I laugh. After the game, we could not believe what had happened. We were like, we are going to nail these fellas. Nailed on. We hadn't won a big game in Croker ever. One of the best Kerry teams ever. All the legends. And do you know what? It was a great day for everyone in this room, right? Because Kerry went on and won the All-Ireland. I never played cornerback again in my life. It was a positive thing. And you know what? What happened in the following decade? Pat Gilroy was the coach that year. It was his first year in charge. Dublin would not have done, guarantee this, half. They wouldn't have had the success, half the All-Irelands, if it wasn't for that day. How badly if we'd only lost that match by 2 or 3 points, we would have thought we were on the right track. We would have maybe tweaked a couple of things. Pat Gilroy came in, and after that, over that winter, we changed everything. We were soft, we were distracted, it was selfish, it was media, it was, what can I do for me? I didn't care about my teammates, no one worked hard. And that beating, it was one of the worst we'll ever got. Cluxton was playing, I was playing, Bernard, Dermot Condy, I think Cian O'Sullivan made his championship debut, Paul Flynn. A lot of the players that went on and had the next decade of success after that never forgot that game. So we changed everything after that. And I remember the next game we had, that was in August. It was August Bank Holiday Monday weekend. The next game we played was Kerry in the opening game of the National League, and it was here, just up the road in Fitzgerald Stadium, and we beat them. And Kevin McMenamin was playing, Michael Dara-McCauley. Pat just got everyone. He just wanted players who would work hard and who actually gave a shit about the team. And it was the biggest turning point for us ever. So it was good for everyone in the room. And we had a good run after that. And I never fucking wore number 4 again in my life. It was all good. And our guest was at the other end of the pitch, having a smoke, watching all this down the other end of the pitch. Because he didn't have to do anything that whole day.
If you could put your hands together, please, for an absolute legend, our special guest, Mark O'Shea. Let's get him out here. That's right. Thanks, man. The audience are getting a couple of clips there, Mark, of you and I back in the day. There's blocks, there's tackles, there's solo dummies as a cornerback. Paddy Andrews, you never learned much of him as a cornerback, did you?
None of it happened for me, I don't think. No, no, funnily enough.
Yeah, I was just listening there before I came out. Sorry, not about this, Paddy, but I didn't even know who Paddy Andrews was before the 0-9. Before the 0-9 quarter final against Dublin. We were coming down the bus after, we started calling him Peanut because Gooch gave him such a roasting. Sorry, Paddy. I knew who Paddy Andrews was after that, but look, it came back to bite us. He had a few good years.
Put off this mic there, lads, will you?
Before we get to the next decade, 2009 was a bit of a mad year for you, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, it was. It was a very funny year. We should have lost to Sligo in Tralee. We played a sweeper with the wind in Austin Stack Park against Sligo. It was crazy stuff.
They had a good forward line that year.
Yeah, they did. They did. I was carted at half time, actually. I was so bad. But then we barely got over the line against Antrim. And things weren't going well at all. Beaten in the Munster final, obviously, by Cork. And everything was going wrong for us. And then eventually, we were actually coming down in the bus after the Antrim game in Tullamore, and it came on the radio that we got Dublin, and all of a sudden, just the whole bus, we had a different mindset then. You know, it was the game that we needed to kind of start playing. And you know, you'd say, geez, did anything change tactically or not really? We were going back up to Croke Park where we love playing, and it's funny. You two were playing the week before in a concert in Croke Park, and there was huge controversy about it because the pitch and the people who were living in the area, just the noise and the whole lot, because the concert was on for a few days. They rolled the pitch out the week before. It's the one game, if you look back at it, it was at a quarter final, I think. It's the one game, if you look back at it, the pitch doesn't look good because you can see it's just rolled out.
That's what happened to me. My fucking studs kept getting caught.
Yeah.
Croke Park is a lot to answer. I don't want the Dubs to play in Croker anymore.
Yeah, Mike Mack tore up the field. He even managed to hit the ball with his head on the way up, and passed it into Gooch, and it was a good start for us because it was just the start that we needed just then, because as I said, we were going poorly all year, and that was the start that we needed.
We might come back to how poor you were going in a minute, but I watched it back this week. You looked angry that day and focused.
Yeah, we'd Ty Kennelly back from Australia. He added a lot to us, even though he was injured in a few games, and eventually, you know, we had a few injuries. And
did you think they were weak?
Dublin. At the time, I think that Dublin bought into the hype. Yeah, I definitely think that. And you see, it's different from where we are down in Kerry, because obviously I'm from Ventry, and the people that you meet, you can decide who you want to meet, who you don't want to meet. You can go for your walk. In Dublin, you're smack bang in the middle of it, so it's a hard thing to try and evade or avoid. And it's different, I suppose, maybe for James in Killarney or Tralee or wherever you are, but now it was tough on Gooch, it was tough on Gooch and Donaghy and Darren O'Sullivan. I remember at the time, the lads were working, Darren and Donaghy were working in Ulster Bank, and they used to be four 4 counters in Ulster Bank. There was 3 lads and 1 lady working, and there was a queue a mile long for Donaghy and Darren, and the other 2, there was nobody waiting for them, so they just wanted to talk football, like, you know. So it depends what kind of occupation you have as well.
Intent. You couldn't even go for a pint.
This is it, like. Well, you know,
Well,
you could if you wanted.
Some
you
lads
went to the
went
right
for a few
places.
pints, like.
If you went to the right places, you could.
Did that galvanise you when the lads were dropped that year?
Was there anyone else who should have been dropped with him, do you think?
Myself and Dara were on the piss as well.
Is this
I remember
the
this
great
was after
feeling?
the Sligo match. Myself and Tomas went back to Dingle. Mikey Sheehy's son, Mikey Jr., got married, and
Met him today.
what's that?
Met him today.
Yeah,
Sound man,
So
yeah.
he got married anyway, and sure, look, we said, sure, a pint or 2 would be no harm, do you know? Sure, it was only Antrim the following week, like. And we had a pint. So next thing you had another pint. Before you know it, you're nearly like Mike Bassett, England manager, up on top of the counter. So it just happened like that, and it went on anyway. And word got back. Now Dara was having a few jars in Tralee, and Gooch and Tomas basically put their hand up. So I got a phone call from Dara the following morning. Listen, there's a bit of heat. Don't say nothing. We weren't out at all. And that's fine. So Jack O'Connor rings anyway. And Mark, did you have a few pints? No, Jack. Are you sure, Mark, you were spotted by a fella there that he said you were having a few pints? Well, Jack, you bring him in front of me and I'd call him a liar, Jack. I didn't have any pints. So anyway, we go on and we ended up winning the All-Ireland. And maybe the day after, we're having a pint anyway, and Dara turns to me and he says, "Can you imagine if we fucking owned up to that? We would know All-Ireland." So that's the moral of the story anyway, Tommy.
That's cool. Do boys get dropped for drinking anymore? Like, does that happen in football nowadays?
It's a different game now.
Yeah.
It's a different game. It's when I retired, that was the crack was going out of it. You know, you were National League games. National League games back then, you could have a few pints after games. You know, it's even gone from the club scene now. Do you know? I look, it's a completely different game. It's professional. Look, there's a lot of positives for it. There's a lot of negatives in it. It's win at all costs, but it's a completely different game now.
But I remember back in 2012, do you remember we lost to Cork in the Munster final? So we had a qualifier against Tyrone in Killarney, and it was a massive game.
Yeah.
Like, as in, obviously with the rivalry and everything, it was just huge. It was a bank holiday weekend in Killarney. We played Tyrone, and we beat them. Got into the dressing room, and everyone was buzzing. There was nearly cans being opened in the dressing room. And
There wasn't, I can assure you.
Jack pulled us. Jack pulled us, and he goes, "Lads, we'd all love to be going out tonight and going on the piss or whatever, but we're all in it together. There's no one going out tonight. We're all together. We'll all put our hands in now and say there's no beer tonight." So obviously everyone looked to Mark to see was he in or not. Mark was, so we went for it. And myself and Jonathan Lyme were driving around town that night. We went for a cruise just to see the crowd around town for bank holiday. No, honestly, we just went for a cruise. And we were doing laps of town, and McSweeney's corner, we just passed it there. McSweeney's corner, there was a big crowd outside McSweeney's, and there was a fella in the middle of the crowd, and he had 3 vodkas in each hand like that.
4 smokes in his
We were
face.
like, who is that now? There's some celebrity inside, some actor or something inside McSweeney's. So we
Tom
drove
Cruise,
past,
like.
couldn't see the first time, drove past, second time, who was it? Jack O'Connor. Right, that fucker.
We're all in it together. Together.
Oh, it was classic.
Yeah.
Wow, Jacko. Is he here tonight? No.
We told him as much on Tuesday night because, like, and this might come back to haunt me now, but like, you know, we were playing Clare the following week. We said, like, Jesus, Jack, come on, just Clare. And he says, like, no, and then the boys had it for us, like, that Jack was out having his few pints, but sure, look, he wasn't playing.
Yeah. There you go. Paddy, I won't come to you about drinking stories. We'll be here for a while.
Jesus. Yeah.
Might leave that one.
You get that one later on.
Yeah, we'll come back to that later on. That Kerry team he had, we're going to be talking a bit about it later on because we are going to have a bit of a debate about the best 50. It's very difficult to pick a 15. Well, it's easy for you. You had 11 Kerry boys in yours. didn't you?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so you'll be making the calls later on.
Yeah.
That Kerry team you had, you're the last Kerry team to do back-to-back. Before I ask you if this Kerry team is ready for it, what was it about you at that stage?
You see, it was a tough thing to do, the back-to-back. We grew up watching the Meath and the Cork teams, 87, 88. Meath came on the scene 86 against Kerry above in Croke Park in the semi-final, and then 87, 88. And the rivalry between Meath and Cork was just frightening.
Yeah.
And of course, Kerry had gone away then, and weren't at the races at all. So then Down came on board, and you were looking at the northern teams.
You struggled with them?
We did, yeah, we did. But just getting back to, say, I know Tyrone were involved in it, for example, but what Cork did and what Meath did, that hadn't been done then for a few years. Even Down, that great Down team with Mickey Linden and Ross Carr, Greg Blaney, James McCartan, that was a great team. But they won it in 91. They didn't win it again until 94 because the great Derry team came, and I remember watching that Ulster Championship match. That's when championship was championship, and that game. You look at games that were some of the greatest games. That game was just unbelievable. That Derry Down match in a scorching day up the north, and you just knew how hard it was. I think Jack went in 06, so Pat O'Shea came in 07. So I think something that helped us, say, to win the back-to-back was that, a new manager had come in, so you nearly had to prove yourself all over again.
Get a bounce.
To the new manager, you had to prove yourself all over again. So for 06 and 07, that was definitely, and look, I don't care what anyone says, luck comes into it as well. You have to be lucky with certain things.
Mark, if you look at that team you had, and you can overanalyze everything, today's game as well, the bottom line, who has the best players? If you have the best players, you've got a serious chance of doing the business. And you guys, through that decade, Tyrone won 3, obviously, and you had trouble with Tyrone, their style of play and things like that. But the players you guys had were savage, and we'll see in the team later on, there's a few of them in it. But the change of manager, I agree, could help, obviously, because it does give you that sense of, fuck, I can't rest in my laurels. But the players you guys had, your biggest rivals, you beat Mayo in 4, Mayo in 6 again, 7 you beat Dublin in a great semi-final, but that Dublin team that I would come on to, we weren't ready to win that. There's a cycle, and I always say this, we've said on the pod a lot, it's so rare for the team to come from nowhere and win the ultimate prize. It's a journey. I sound like fucking Tony Robbins here, but it is a journey to get to that stage. You see, with Galway this year, I think they'll be very dangerous, the improvements, Derry as well. We had it with Dublin. Like I said, that game in 09, we lose to Cork in 10. The game we probably should have won, but still we weren't ready. The kind of clinical edge, and we finally win it in 11, and that opens the floodgates. Whereas you guys had the best players. There was no one really, bar Tyrone, and they were kind of in their gap between 05 and 08 to win it. You probably should have won more. Do you feel you should have won more with that team? You win 5
definitely.
5 All-Irelands that day.
Yeah, I definitely think I should have won more. Excuse me, my first one in 02, the first final against Armagh.
Yeah.
There was myself, Seamus Moynihan, and Mike McCarthy in the full back line. 3 of us leaked 3 points each a man, 9 points. But we went in at half time that day against Armagh. We were 4 points up. And as a young fella,
absolutely schooling them.
but as a young fella, I'm going in there and I'm saying, geez, we kind of have this game. And very naive and lack of experience, you'd call it. And then 2 years later, against Mayo, you're going in and you're 8 points up. And you're saying, hold on now, we have to drive this one home. And that's experience.
Against Mayo, though.
Yeah, but that's experience, though. You nearly have to lose one to win one. I don't necessarily believe you have to lose one, but you have to have the experience of what it's like, when you're 4 up and Armagh came back in the second half and they sensed it,
What was that Armagh full forward line? Clark?
Marsden,
Dermot Marsden.
Clark,
Brilliant.
and McDonald, Stevie McDonald. Fantastic footballer.
McConville 12, McEntee.
Yeah, and I think when they got the goal, they really went for it then, and we just had a few players that had off days that they were the same players that always got us over the line every day, we went out. And just, look, wasn't to be. Fair play to Armagh, great team.
Yeah, absolutely. 03 happened.
03, yeah.
Yeah. Paddy left after 03.
Paddy left after 03. 03, we were, again, we were kind of in Munster. Limerick gave us a good game. Cork were kind of gone. They were there 0-2, 0-3, 0-4. Cork were kind of in transition. 0-3 then went up to played Roscommon in the quarter final. I think they could even have got a few goals off us, and just we weren't. Then we'd played Tyrone. My God, they absolutely hockeyed us. That famous scene in the sideline.
Did you expect that from Tyrone? It looked like it was like no one's ever seen this.
The problem was we didn't expect it from Tyrone, but then in 05. In 05, we did expect it from, but they came out in 05 and they played football.
They were serious,
you know,
team.
and like 08 was probably the one year we should have won it. We should have won it in 08. But look, I mean, there's a lot of games. So to go back to your question, should we have won more? Possibly should have. But I mean, there's all teams that can say that. We were very lucky what we did win, and you cherish the moments that you won, the memories that you have, that you go away with your teammates, the crack that you have on holidays afterwards. So there's great days.
I've been doing a lot of reading about Paddy and the O'Sheas and all of that over the last couple of days. And I'd be interested to know what it was like for you as the youngest, because Paddy the uncle had obviously said it, Dara comes along then. Did Dara have a tough year or two at the start and then breaks in and takes over then around 96, 97? He's taken over midfield. Tomas comes in. Tomas had a tough first year, breaks into it then. As the youngest fella coming through, was there more questions about you? Were you under a bit of pressure?
Yeah.
Heat on you?
There was. Oh, geez, there was. Yeah, there was huge heat because you see, I suppose from Paddy's point of view, like he was the manager and he had to we had to prove ourselves more so than any other player to get onto the team, because obviously we were his nephews, and like in 0-1, Johnny Crowley was Kerry's best player, and I was marking him in the county championship that year, and I just so happened to have a very good game on him. And sure, of course, everyone started talking about that then, and I got in. But like, I mean, Paddy, in fairness to him, he dealt with pressure unbelievably. It didn't bother him who said anything to him. Like, he just didn't care. And maybe that comes from, say, winning what he won. But like, there was calls. My grandmother, Beatrice, God be good to him, there was calls above in the stand, like, bring on Beatrice. Do you know, like, I mean, like, crazy stuff, like, But like, there was another day, Tomas tells a great yarn, we're in the foyer of the hotel. And at the time, the Gaeltacht just started winning the county championships, so there was Dara O'Kinneady, the Gaeltacht, Dara and Tomas, the Gaeltacht, Aidan McGarrett, the Gaeltacht, myself, the Gaeltacht. I think Aidan's brother Rob might have been floating around. So there was 6 of us down there, like, and Paddy comes down the lift, and he's looking around and he's surveying this area, the situation. He says, Jesus Christ, lads, will you scatter? I'll lose my fucking job. So he was very aware, like, that, we were there. But I think the fact that we won the county championships, took that pressure off.
Yeah.
But like you said, the first year, I don't know what the lads will think. Well, Paddy, you definitely had a first year tough year, like, with the coach. But like I had it as well.
Yeah.
I had it as well. And like, geez, like, you either crumble or you come again and try and make a better go at it.
It's so rare to see a young fella come out, and similar to the team situation, a young guy come up from underage and straight away fit into the team. Like, we know the guys who've done it because they're household names. Clifford did it, obviously, was incredible.
Seamus Moynihan.
Gooch did it, right?
Yeah,
Gooch did it straight away, and he was so slight. We had it with McCaffrey and Kilkenny in 13. Normally, it's 2 or 3 years, there's the know-how upstairs going, you're playing adult football at the highest level. Physically, there's obviously huge demands. It's so rare that it happens. Like, I remember Jim used to always bring 2 or 3 guys in, and just, that was the best place for them to learn. We had Con O'Callaghan and Brian Howard. I remember Con came in. He's obviously probably Dublin's best player now, but for 2 years he was on the squad and was a young full forward, and I was going, fucking lovely, he's not getting near my place. And sure enough, he develops, gets stronger, and that was the journey for it. It's just, it takes time for 90%, 95% of the people. It's the absolute superstars that can come in straight off the bat and do it. The resilience piece is, you'll have hard days. That is, you got to deal with that. And if you can't deal with getting a hiding in a game, sent off, getting a roast, and bad reports in the press, whatever it might be, the pressure that comes with it, And so many players, we've all seen it, lads, in Kerry and Dublin teams, where it doesn't happen for them, and they don't get back. It's such an underrated skill because it's intangible. Your mental toughness, your resilience to deal with that, but it's such a key part of so many of the top players we see today.
Yeah.
But it's way easier. It's way easier to come onto a team when you're young as a forward, because if you're useless, fair enough that you don't get a score or you don't get much ball, and you get taken off maybe. But if you play badly as a cornerback, you could be taken for a goal or two, and you could cost the team the game. Like
120.
Or if you play, if you play well, or you're kind of decent as a forward, you're labelled that term mercurial. Do you know what I mean? And you have a bit of potential. You might be good down the line. Whereas as a back, you might only get 1 or 2 chances back there, and if you get a roasting, like, you kind of have that label forever. Like, so it's definitely easier for forward, I think.
Mark, you were the man marker for Kerry, right, through the noughties. If you were preparing to play a team and Jack turns around to you and says, you're marking a mercurial forward, what are you thinking? Are you like, lovely?
Well, do you know what I used to always do, and like, it's something that any team that I've trained or whatever, I'd always say to them, like, especially at intercounty level, is that good players don't play bad twice, certainly not 3 times. And I'd give a look at the newspaper, say if we were playing Cork in a Munster final, I'd look at the newspaper the week before, 2 weeks before, and how did maybe Colm O'Neill do, or how did Daniel Goulding do? Yeah. And if they were taken off, or if they didn't score,
he'd be worried.
I'd be getting worried, because I said, right, I really have to be on my guard here now. And like, if I saw a fella shooting the lights out, kicking 8 or 9 points, I'd be really looking forward to, like, you know, going after this one. Yeah. So, like, no matter what way it was teed up, you'd kind of look at the positives, you'd look at what you could do, like. But it's especially tough. Like, the first time I played in the full back line, I was playing the forwards as a kid, and the first time I played in the full back line was with the Gaeltacht, my club team, in the 2000 campaign. I ended up marking my future manager, Pat O'Shea, in the county final in 2000. They beat us 6-5. That was the final score in the county.
Classic.
Puke football in Kerry, what?
Oh, sure. The conditions were shocking in Austin Stag Park, Tralee, and it was a poor game. We possibly should have won, but we came the following year, we won it. But like, so that was my first introduction to the full back line. And
it's a horrible position.
It's tough. It's tough because you see, what you soon realise is that you're the last line of defence, really. And if something happens, if you slip, if anything goes wrong, you know, you're usually.
I'll tell you, we could all play in the full back line now. 15 lads.
Oh,
back.
yeah.
The game is Desi Farrell.
The game has changed. The game has changed. Like, even if, for example, when I was playing, it was like, say, if you had a great game, it was tops possession 23-24. Now you look at the game. I took, for example, the Armagh game in the league in Tralee. I think Tom O'Sullivan had 50 possessions. You're talking about the ball going into the right-hand corner, it's rotated out, and Tom, in fairness to him, he's a class act. And like, he tries to get into the positions where he can kind of maybe, you know, outside the left, and he does. And like, it's getting to the stage now where the opposition teams are setting up for Tom. Yeah. And it was interesting to hear David Clifford last week as well saying, like, that the backs are nearly outscoring the forwards now. So the game has completely changed. And I retired in 2016, and the game has completely changed since then.
But when a back says they kept the forward scoreless, like, realistically they didn't, because if there's 12 or 13, it was like a pure team effort to put 12 or 13 behind the ball.
Donegal brought that big time. They were you can say that the Tyrones had it. I think Tyrones had the 2 wing forwards coming back. Like, Donegal, as soon as the ball was kicked out, you know,
all of them
everyone turned around and they were gone. And like, the game just completely changed after that. And you know, it's like, it's a completely different game.
But to be fair, you generally will copy teams will copy the team that's been successful. What's worked? Who won the club championship? Who won the provincial championship? Who won the All Ireland championship? Donegal did that, famous against our side in 2011. They didn't have success, but they did in 2012. And then we seen Jim McGuinness was held up, and it was a brilliant innovation, that style of play, and then everyone started copying that. I think, and we were only chatting about it on the pod last week, I don't think a team can win the All Ireland playing that way. I think it has a ceiling. I think it's a really good thing for a new coach to come in and see Mickey Hart do it with Louth, where it gives you a solid base and it'll get you to a certain point. Rory Gallagher with Derry last year to win the Ulster Championship. You cannot win the All Ireland, the biggest prize, by being conservative. You have to have more to your game. I think that's a really positive thing from Dublin Kerry. Traditionally, we want to play front foot football, but the years where every single team was hanging their hat on this defensive style of play, I think are past. I think the top
Well, it
teams,
didn't work for Derry last year. You can see that.
I think it's clear it has limitations. And
They've obviously tinkered with their style of playing out. You know, they've changed it up slightly to try and make sure that they.
Well, they're bringing the forwards up the pitch.
Yeah.
We were there on Saturday night, and you can see, you could, if you're lazy enough, look at it there and go, oh, they bring everyone back, but they attack in a wave as well.
They do, like even
they've everyone
McCluskey. We're talking about Tom O'Sullivan. McCluskey attacked for the goal there. You know, we mentioned about Philly McMahon doing it to the Gooch in 0-15. You know,
Well, Philly
Getting up
couldn't
the
defend,
field
so
and
we had to
putting-
go forward.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but yeah.
it has changed though. It's completely changed.
If you were a top cornerback, and your manager said, right, our tactic is now to bring as many fellas back in front of you as we can to protect you. Like, that's an insult to a top cornerback. Do you know what I mean? I think
But
the
still
two
take-
most-
I think the
But you
biggest
don't
insult.
enjoy it.
I think
but
the
the two
biggest.
most important lines of the field, in my opinion, as of now, are your full back line. Because if you have a very strong full back line, it means you don't have to put a lot of bodies in front of them. They can actually come out and compete. And your half forward line, because you can run the game from there and chip
But
off
Jimmy,
forward. But
how
you
many-
have those.
But I think the two biggest insults to the game have been, number one, okay, we grew up watching players, Jesus, Willie Joe Padden going out catching a ball over his head, Teddy McCarthy. I know my brother Dara, you study these fellas. And, like, I mean, is there anything as beautiful as watching a fella going up catching a ball?
Yeah.
You saw Brian Fenton doing it last Sunday, Paddy.
Yeah,
Like,
at the end.
there's nothing as nice as seeing a fella going up catching a ball. So, like, the short kickouts, obviously, it's win at all costs. So, teams are changing things up. Secondly, I'd say, as a defender, if I was playing now in a situation where the mark, I'd throw the boots.
Terrible
in the bin. Like
The inside
the,
mark.
the biggest
the
challenge
outside
for
mark.
me, the inside, the
Yeah,
biggest challenge for me as a defender was if my man won the ball and he had to take me on.
Yeah.
When he had to take his hop or his solo, could I get that hand in, get the ball away from him, you know, and like that's gone.
That's
so like
defending.
defending is completely gone, and that's why the game has completely changed. And I think the mark has been, for me, like, I mean, you're trying to. I'll ask you this: how many players are growing up now wanting to be a defender? There isn't many. I think the defending is completely different. It's attacking.
But as well, as a forward, Mark, if you catch the ball on the full 25 yards out and you're thinking point, you should be shot. Do you know what I mean? Because if you can just secure that ball and turn, you're one-on-one with your man because you've received a kick pass. You're one-on-one with your man. You say you're on a good defender, but any forward worth the salt should back himself to take you on, or the good defender on and beat him and go for a goal. So it's actually taking goal chances away as well. It's taking good forward play and good defending out of it.
Some players think like that. You can see Conor Callaghan thinks like that.
Oh yeah.
Colin Cooper thought like that too. He always thought goal first, didn't he?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
He'd catch it, and he'd make the defender probably think that he was going to swing it over, and he has the same hop as Clifford, the dummy hop with the left hand to buy himself a couple of yards. He actually did it against Mayo in the 04 final. With that unbelievable goal. But yeah, I think once you catch the ball on the full forward line, you should be thinking goal chance.
It's amazing. Everyone's been giving out to think about it for a couple of years, and there's no chat that it's going to be gone, that they're going to take it out. I agree. I think it's.
Because there's so little of them, I suppose, because the ball isn't being kicked in.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, 15 lads back. It's
Yeah,
hard to get
15
kicked
lads back.
past.
As we mentioned a little earlier, we are going to be picking the official greatest Kerry Dublin team since the year 2000.
How official is this going to be?
This is official.
Who's the
My
final
team-
say on
my
Mark?
Mark O'Shea and the crowd get the casting vote.
So that's
What we've
500
got,
Kerry people and Mark.
Paddy, you're in the bear pit.
You're in
buddy.
Kerry now.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we're going to be presenting two different teams now. Paddy and James haven't seen each other's teams yet. They're very different. And myself and Mark,
We won't either,
We'll
because
be
the
sitting here.
screen is broke.
I'll give you my laptop. I'll give you my laptop.
there's no Wi-Fi down here, is there?
We'll be taking a break in about 20 minutes' time as well, so you can grab a pint or go to the bathroom as well. We're here with thanks to AIB, who've also given us 2 pairs of tickets to the Munster final this weekend. So if anyone wants to get involved in the debate a little later on, if you want to put your hand up, Catherine will be going around with the mic. You can make a pitch for one player. You're only going to have 30 seconds to make a pitch. And if you can convince Mark to put that player into your team, you get the tickets to the Munster final this weekend.
All right.
Yeah, we're looking
So
forward
pick
to
Mark, Tomas, or Dara, and you're
There
guaranteed.
They're nailed on, James. You'll have to go elsewhere.
I think we'll get into this now. Paddy, can we have a look at Paddy Andrews' team, please? You can put it up on screen. Paddy, I'd imagine you forget your team, so I'll go through it.
I
for you,
do,
will I?
and I can't see this.
Okay, I'll give you my laptop here. So Paddy Andrews has managed to come into Killarney and go for 9 dubs in his team.
9 dubs.
Go through that there, and we'll have a look at James's after.
Right. So this is since 2000, right? So we caveat this. You
Goalkeeper.
lads won 5 in the noughties, and Dublin never betches. We won 8. 8 in the teens, and ye never beat us. And then you've obviously won in 21. So by right, we're looking at the facts here, because that's facts. Dublin should have more players than this.
Like Rafa Benitez there. Have the facts.
So on goal, it was either Clucko or David O'Hanlon, and it settled on... Clucko's just nicked it, just in case.
This will be a long night.
Put Mark in because he's here. Moynihan, obviously Moynihan's a legend. Like, it was him or Rory O'Carroll, really. Like, Rory was great for us, but Moynihan's the man. Mick Fitz was our go-to man. I know, I seen this was going on Twitter, wasn't it? A lot of people talking about Johnny Cooper, Philly Mack. Fitz, he was the man marker for us. Put Tomas in because Mark is here.
Paddy.
Oh, this is working. Centre back, Keane O'Sullivan was massive for us. Jack is obviously nailed on. I have to say, I was going to put Dara in because Mark is here as well. But James Bento, Paul Flynn was going to Flynn or Connolly for me. Connolly was the most talented player we had by a mile. I think Connolly and Clifford are the 2 most talented players I've ever seen, naturally, like.
You left him out.
I did, yeah, just because...
How did you leave him out of that?
I thought Paul Flynn was more reliable. Paul Flynn won 4 All-Stars in a row, as that Dublin team were only starting to become the Dublin team that they would over the next decade. You'd have him in your team for anything. You do anything with Paul Flynn. He developed his game as well. Declan O'Sullivan was nailed on. I presume we all have Declan now, do we?
Yeah.
And who did I put?
You Kilkenny 12. And then
Kenny or Galvin, yeah, it was tight, but Kieran's me mate. So I put
You'd have Flynn ahead of Kilkenny, would you? Would you have Paul Flynn ahead of...
probably now, but Kieran's still got another 3 or 4 years left. Like. They're different players. Like Kieran is more probably a centre for. Paul Flynn was like, along with Galvin, that iconic up and down for Brian Dooher as well.
if Kilkenny had played 14, would we be talking about him in a different sense?
I think that's I think it's a credit to him because he was like a Clifford scorer, underage. Like from under 14 in Dublin, everyone knew about Kilkenny. He was an animal scorer. And he adapted his game because we didn't need him in there at the time.
Yeah, that's probably what you needed was a fella to control
the
the
link
game,
to
like,
play, and that wasn't his natural thing. So that's what I think he's an incredible player. And you know, he would have got a bit of stick from kind of people looking going. He slows things down. But we needed the way we wanted to play. He was the ultimate team player and controlling the game, pace of the game.
I left Kilkenny out of my team because he never had those unbelievable moments that a Connolly had or a Galvin had. Like he had,
But
he
we
could
didn't want him to do that.
I know, but like
And he didn't need to do that. He could have done it because he has the talent. He has the talent to do it.
he
But
could have
Dublin
done it.
needed. He was totally selfless in how he would play the game, and it mightn't meet everyone's taste, but he will control. And for a young guy, he was a young guy coming into that team with Brogan and Flynn and Connolly, and he will control the game. And it's now you talk about the evolution of a team. We're all fucking washed up now, like. But himself and Fenton, they're now leading that team, and Khan.
He started 13 centre forward, didn't he? Was he 18
He was
or
a
19?
kid, yeah, him and Jack.
Very young.
And I think they both got taken off. And that could be a massive thing for an underage star to come up in the biggest game. Probably didn't go as well for him and comes back and wins, 5 or 6 All-Stars at the time.
Your full forward line is Gooch, Bernard, and David Clifford. We'll debate this after. Let's have a look at James.
Well, I just want to settle on this now,
Yeah.
right? Because this was a tough decision. I know we're changing this. Gooch is obviously in. Burnout was our out-and-out scorer. And the last one, it was like straight up shootout, 50-50, myself or Clifford. And I thought, he's younger, he's got a few more years, and we're in Killarney, so I said, there'll be a fucking riot in this place. if we don't
Mostly the
put
Killarney
Clifford
thing,
in.
yeah.
So Clifford just nipped me, but I presume you have me in your team, do you?
No, let's have a look at James O'Donoghue's team now.
Before you get on to that, you want to give Paddy, tell him where the exits are, because having 9 fellas on is absolute sinful.
James, run us
That's
through your
my
team.
team.
It's a very similar defence, is it? Or you've gone for Keane O'Sullivan cornerback?
I went
We
with
both
Keane
had Keane in.
O'Sullivan. Huh?
We
No,
both
hang on.
Keane in, yeah.
I went with Keane O'Sullivan. Yeah, you went Keane O'Sullivan centre back. He wore.
He's not a
He
cornerback.
wore a cornerback jersey a lot, but I put Keane O'Sullivan in because he was your kind of sweeper.
He was
he
so
didn't
important
have
to us.
straight
Yeah.
out. He didn't have the best markers like Kerry did.
Fitzy-
I don't know. He had a Mark Shea or a Tom
Fitzy was
Sullivan.
our mark, but without the.
Yeah,
Going
and
forward,
Fitzy's
so.
unbelievable career, 100%. But I wouldn't have had him in that level. So I put Keane O'Sullivan cornerback.
Yeah.
Where's
the team?
Can I get seen back up there? I went with I picked first of all. I picked the Dubs. I definitely wanted to have in. So I had Cluxton. I picked their best 6, and I see can I fit any more in? Cluxton, Keane O'Sullivan, James McCarthy, McCaffrey,
Yeah.
Fenton, Dear McConnelly.
Conley.
The backbone of the team, in my opinion.
You're-
Because I thought that,
5 Kerry forwards.
That stands out.
but I think that Dublin were more kind of a system-based team, whereas Kerry had individual brilliance up front, with Gooch, Donaghy, Declan Sullivan,
Donaghy?
and now Clifford. I picked Donaghy.
Is Donaghy here?
Our second special guest is.
Fuck, he's
No,
there.
I picked Donaghy
Tatler Jacks
because
later on, like.
in opposition to Kilkenny, right? And I think Kilkenny is an awesome player for
So who are you putting in
But
Kilkenny? Galvin.
I put hang on, I'll go Donaghy first.
Okay.
I put Donaghy in because he had unbelievable moments in games. Even if you think back
Yeah,
in
no,
All
he
Ireland
did, yeah.
finals, he got a goal.
He got you a few scores, James.
He
He
did.
got you player of the year, like.
He catch it, leave it off. He wasn't calling the mark.
Lay it off, lay it off,
That's
lay it
because
off.
they kicked the mark wide.
I know, yeah.
But if you think back, even his unbelievable moments against Armagh in
06.
06, like where
Nancy
he caught it
Bellamy,
on
yeah.
Bellew and then gave the goalkeeper a bit. I remember being up in Croke Park, and like that gives you such a rush there. His goal against Mayo as well, the same, where he caught it on Cafferty, I think, and buried it into the roof of the net in the All-Ireland final.
We'd
And he
always
got
say,
2 goals
on it,
against
right?
Cork in the All-Ireland final. Like he's
We
a big game.
we
big
target players if we were playing you guys, obviously, you know, who every team has iconic leaders in their team and they make big plays. Like might be the best players every time.
Yeah.
But I think was it Dara's favourite Hammer the Hammer?
Hammer the hammer.
Yeah, that was it. And we would play ye and Donaghy was
Donaghy was the hammer.
you could just know he wasn't the most he wasn't the most technically talented player, but he exactly what you're saying, a moment's player. If Donaghy did something big, it was worth more to you guys than Gooch or yourself clipping a score. It was like the crowd were in.
Yeah.
Ye were all in.
100%.
He was
It
like
a
just
crowd.
an influencer of a team. We had Connolly was our big one. No, none of us knew what the fuck Connolly was ever going to do. But if he did something, the hill would explode.
Yeah.
It's back to Croke Park again. But we would there's just players in a team that you will feed off, and we would always be like, don't let Donaghy do something.
Yeah, but I'm actually coming at this from an interesting one because like those Galvin, Declan, Gooch and Donaghy were like our heroes, and we got to play with them then. So you see them as these legends, but then you see them as teammates, and you kind of see
a
that they
cool
actually
experience
carry it
though,
through.
isn't
It's a great experience.
Yeah.
So they actually live up, when they live up to that, they go up in your estimation even more. So the second one that you're saying that is not a dodgy one, but you could argue Galvin or Kilkenny maybe
Or Flynn.
Galvin
Galvin's back
was
practice, yeah.
unbelievable.
But
Like,
I-
in terms of getting the crowd involved.
You know
being-
you're
being a
mercurial
dirty sin-
because you've Galvin and Connolly in who are both fucking mercurial. Like. You can never rely on them. They do some magic stuff. But
No, you
they
could
did
rely
some-
on Galvin. He was tough as nails. He'd do anything to protect you. Come up with a score. The best player ever under a break. Like, as in, he defined breaks.
Yeah.
And he had a
They're good-
cynical
they're good
side.
teams, like.
Great player.
Let's have a look at Paddy's team one more time with his 11 dubs. Mark, you had 11 Kerry
wasn't
in your
11.
team. Can I get 9 dubs, 6? Can I get your thoughts on Paddy's team here and what changes you'd make?
What changes I'd make? I suppose
Dermot
I'd
O'Keefe
leave
can
Crooks
go.
in there and I'd say we'd change the rest.
Would you have me in over you a cornerback?
Would I have? No, do you know what?
Henry.
I'd take myself out of it. I'd throw Tom O'Sullivan Rathmore in. I think he was absolutely incredible. Mike McCarthy from Kilcummin. My God, like, I mean, he was so... you're
Cornerback
talking-
or centre back, though?
Play him anywhere. You talk about, like, and this is the beauty about it. You look back at the team, you look back at teams and how versatile their players. How can you put players in different positions? Seamus Moynihan could play any place between 2 and even 12. He actually came on the 0-4 final in 12. He was injured the whole year.
Full forward, Glenn Flesk.
But obviously his best position was in the backs. You see, he was just incredible. What a leader, but just the way he read the game. He was brave. He was brilliant over his head. He was like, when I started off in that Kerry team, I was number 2. He was number 3. I was like a sponge, just trying to learn everything I could from. And it was Paulie that said it to me. He said, watch that man, he said, learn as much as you can from him. And that's what I would try and do, be it blocking down, be it his catching, whatever he was doing. So he's in there. Mick Fitzsimons is a great footballer, and like in terms of man marking, he's unbelievable. He's got 8 All-Ireland medals.
Well, Mark, that's what I put about, because a couple of Dubs are on to me with this. Obviously, Philly McMahon is a very popular Dublin player and was hugely influential for us at times. Johnny Cooper was excellent as well, but probably more in the Keane O'Sullivan role. From the Dublin perspective, Fitzy was our guy. From within the team, it was like he marked Gooch in 11, did a better job than I did. But every time we played the biggest teams, and like Fitzy had a year or two, he had injuries and he wasn't starting. He came back, he's won 2 or 3 All-Stars since. He was the man. Fitzy were playing X, Y, and Z. And I tell you, if Dublin play Kerry later this year, he's older than me. Fuck's sake. He'll be the man on Clifford.
Nah, he get.
I'm telling you, he will.
Roasted by Clifford.
Say that again, James.
But isn't that the?
Say it again for the people in the back.
So you're giving Cliffy his dues now. But
where was he?
that's why you have Fitzy.
Where was he this weekend? Was he injured?
He's a bit of a knock, yeah.
Okay.
He was playing club football, wasn't he?
He's only coming back.
He didn't make the pen.
He's very quiet about that one.
Marking Clifford.
Bit of a knock.
But if you were saying, because Mark, you have the final say on this somehow, and the fucking credibility of this team, Mark gets to pick it. Before you get to that, who are your 3 absolute nailed on? When this was sent to you, go, well, I'll tell you, he's in, and he's in.
The one thing I'm going to say,
genuinely.
Can we get the team up there again for a second? I'm looking at Paddy's team there. There's 3 fellas with blue jerseys that are Kerrymen. Bernard Brogan, Brian Fenton, and Cian O'Sullivan.
Wow.
Now look, that's as they say, Shinshki Lila Paddy. But anyway.
What was that?
Look, do you know, this is the beauty about teams. Whatever team you throw out there, it's all opinions. That's why, like, the All-Stars down through the years, they're so controversial.
They're not worth the bollocks.
They're controversial.
There was a lot of... we put this up on Twitter, and there's a lot of agreement over a few positions. Mark, cornerback yourself. But the half-back line, Tomas, James McCarthy, Jack McCaffrey, seems to be
nailed on.
Nailed on for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Dara and Fenton in midfield seems to be everyone's. That just seems like the perfect balance in midfield.
Yeah.
You've Dara in the air and Fenton as the modern midfielder.
But Dara was only 6'1".
No.
And like,
probably
the best
aerially.
The best aerially nearly ever.
Where did
There's
that
been
come from?
6'3",
If you
6'4",
look at that,
he was
Kicking ability as well, James. I mean, if I was marking Gooch in training, or if I was marking Mike Frank in training, there was 3 fellas, and Moynihan would have been further back. Say he would have been in the full back line. But if Tomas, Dara, Galvin got the ball, you knew they were going to put it perfect inch pass into the likes of Gooch. So like their kicking ability as well.
Isn't that the point we're making, Mark? It's not just every one of those players, whether it's my team, your team, or whatever the fuck you settle on later on. They could all play, and they're brilliant footballers. They're hard as fuck. They work their balls out for the team. That team, and even your team, Jimmy, was Kerry heavy. They would never lose a championship match. No one would beat them. No. And that's only the last 23 years of the best of us and the best of you guys.
It's so true. It's very difficult to pick it. I'd love to know what your full forward line would be. As somebody who would have marked them in training and in the big days.
My full forward. You want?
Just give us an idea of it before. Just go for.
Well, you see,
little teaser.
The Gooch obviously is nailed on for me. He's number 1. You know, he was just incredible. Like, he came in. We were talking there about Gooch. He came in and he was only 18. I remember his first game was against Laois. Yeah,
Division 2 final.
Division 2 final. The Hailstones that same day, but he was 18 and he was, I suppose, 10 stone. But like, by God, could he mind himself? It was incredible. Brave, could catch a ball over his head, left leg, right leg.
Yeah,
He was
do all
just
that.
incredible. So for me, Gooch is number one. Like Donaghy obviously was an unbelievable footballer. I suppose, unfortunately, we have to bring a dub into it. I had some battles with Bernard Brogan, like incredible battles. Now, I was kind of going this way, and he was still going that way. 11 was probably the one where it probably broke even. 13, he definitely got the better. And, you know, I was going downhill. I was 36 my last day out, actually, wearing a Kerry jersey.
Is that 16?
Yeah, 2016, it was the 100th anniversary of the
League final.
the league final, yeah.
We played you guys.
Easter Rising, and it was the day of my birthday. I was 36. I got absolutely cleaned from Bernard Brogan the same day, and the writing was on the wall then. But like, he was just a bit like that. He was left leg, he was right leg, and you know, I definitely believe this when Pat Gilroy came in. Bernard would even say this, Joe, that his work rate completely changed. He was a hard worker off the ball then. You know, before that, he was just a fella maybe like the Ronaldo who wanted to just to get the scores and not do the hard work. But afterwards, he was completely different.
But that 2009 game, Thomas Sullivan's marking him and eats him. I don't think he touches the ball the whole game.
2009,
the
yeah.
bloodbath.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And it was like
I know how that feels. Tom Sullivan was reckless.
he was
Unbelievable.
Pace.
phenomenal player.
David Clifford has to get in as well. So
Already?
I think so.
I know it's a stupid question.
I mean, you say already, but he's there since 18.
Yeah.
You know, so he's 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So
Is Cliff in 10
He was-
years' time? What is he going to be like?
The manager of that team.
well, look,
Manager
the
of
only thing
that,
I'll
but
say, the only thing I'll say that like you're talking
That
about a
age.
team here that like you're looking at, say, who you have, and I go back to it. It's all about opinions. But the one thing I think that, like, I was on the phone today with Alan Brogan. The poor fella was nearly crying when he saw the team.
I about 8 missed calls off. He's like, what happened to this fucking team?
And he said, like,
Not now, Alan. I'm
he
in
said,
Clarny.
if Declan O'Sullivan is on that team before me, he said, it's a disgrace. And I said, listen, Declan O'Sullivan was the best centre forward I ever played with. Now, he's a bit distraught above in Dublin. I'll give him a buzz after show, see is he okay.
Do you know what he
But,
started?
like,
He started throwing Bernard under the bus, and he's like, at least put me in ahead of Bernard. I was like,
But
can't do that either, Alan.
I said back to him, I
Anyone
said,
else?
Alan, you only played in one final. He says, you came on in 15, all right, you scored a great score. And he sent me on the score then that he kicked, like, in the final.
It's a screensaver.
But it does.
Just on a loop.
And he, every now and again, when things are kicking off between the two of us, he'll send on that score that he got. But, like, the only thing I'd say about every player that's on this team, I think longevity has to come into play. Can you do it year after year after year after year? Some of the players that are mentioned there, like, they've, like, the Dubs now, the 8 All-Irelands that the Dubs won, a lot of those are in the space of, like, say, 9, 10 years. Do you know? Like, say, you're looking at some, like, say, the likes of Moynihan, Dara, 15,
But they done it in the 90s.
16,
or-
17. I'd say Moynihan
Their best years
could
are
have
probably
played for
before
17 years.
2000.
17 years for Kerry, do you know?
But you talk about longevity. What was it about some of you boys? Like, you have your joint record with Tomas, 88 championship appearances. Paddy had an unbroken record from the 70s through to the 80s of starting matches all the time. Dara as well. What are you drinking out in West Kerry?
Guinness.
Pints of Heineken.
We drank a lot of milk.
But what is it about that? Was it you were hardy, like.
I don't know.
Something about the longevity.
I don't know.
too.
Maybe it's genes. We drank a lot of milk growing up. We ate well. We I don't know. Sometimes I think you're lucky. You're just lucky with injuries. Do you
Hold
know?
on.
I don't know.
You're
I genuinely
talking
don't
total
know.
shite there now.
I'm not.
I don't
I
like
think,
making
I
up
think
marks.
he just
but
defined
I-
sports science there. didn't he?
I have to say, from a Dublin perspective, yourself, Tomas, Dara, for you guys to play at that level for that long, and this is a team competing to win the ultimate prize. It's not in a smaller county where it might be a bit easier. Everyone's trying to get your spot. And it's the same with some of those Dublin guys. They're friends of mine, but the respect I would have for someone to do it year on year with the competition in the top counties of everyone wanting your jersey for decades and be the man is incredible.
Look,
That's the only
yeah,
nice
but
thing I'm ever going to say about you. We're
I know,
GAA
but I go
golf
back
fans
to it.
now,
I go
but
back to it. There is a bit of luck
genuinely.
involved. My eldest brother Fergal, he was captain of the Kerry Miners. Tore his cruciate, got injury after injury after injury. Probably more talented than any one of us. So like, you sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not. I think of all of us, Dara was the only fella that actually I missed a final as well. I missed a 15 final with a hamstring, even though I passed the fitness test the night before. I still wasn't put on, but anyway. But Dara,
Who was the 15th?
he broke his metatarsal against Derry in 0-4 semi-final, so he missed the 0-4 final. But other than that, we were very lucky.
Yeah.
Very lucky.
Yeah.
But I will say, Tom, in this day and age, you look at Clifford, right, and you're looking at longevity. Like, for him, even I heard during the week, he's not on social media, which is so fucking important, because there'd be fellas at him going, "You are the greatest of all time." Like, how
You had that, didn't you?
soft that could be. How soft that could be for his.
You set up
for
a load
his
of
mind.
fake Twitter accounts yourself, didn't you? James, at
I
James
set up a
O'Donoghue
David
was
Clifford
flying
account so I
today.
could get the praise off him. But no. But like, say, if he was to expose himself to that sort of coverage and attention, it could soften him a bit and kind of take a bit of longevity off him. Like back in Mark's time, which is a very, very, very long time
No
ago.
social media back then.
Like there
no
was
internet
no
back then.
there was no podcast, there was no social media. Do you know what I mean? Like, not that it was easier, but it's more intense now for fellas. And the fact that he's made that call to absolutely bow out of that scene is definitely going to stand stand him in good stead as he
The
goes on.
ability to focus.
Yeah.
Because of all the pressure on, like you're talking about superstar GA players, like J.O. in the 90s, Morris Fitz for you guys, then Wade Burdett for
Morris
Cavaliers.
Fitz, another player who should be on
Morris
the team.
Fitz, but he's kind of at the end of that. But Cliffy now is like, there's so much attention on him, so much pressure, and he's only a young fella. Do you know what I mean? And for him to keep that level up, he's delivering every single time he plays. You'll see on Sunday again. He's the key to Kerry for the next 10 years to do it. It is incredible because it's so easy for young people to be
Again,
distracted.
Paddy, the only thing about that, he is, and he's going in the right direction, but from a Kerry point of view, you just be hopeful he stays injury-free. That's the big
But
thing.
isn't that the interesting thing with all the top teams this year? We've said it. I think for the All-Ireland race, I'd have 3 teams in the top bracket who genuinely win it. Dubs, Kerry and Galway.
That's your order.
No, I think it's so even between the 3 of them. I think the next tranche down will be Derry, Mayo, Tyrone, Armagh maybe. I don't think they'll win it, but they could beat one of the big teams.
You usually the Razzies?
Rossies are in the tier below that. but any one of those top teams, if Clifford gets injured, the impact it had for Dublin last year in the semi-final, take Shane Walsh out of Galway, it's so tight in this year's All-Ireland. That's why I think it's an incredible championship ahead, but it's no different for if Kerry lose Clifford, that's a catastrophe. But you could say the same for any one of the other top teams. The margins are so tight. It's going to be an incredible 8 weeks ahead.
Before we head to the break, James,
Yeah.
Mark O'Shea, when you broke into the Kerry team, you probably marked him a little bit.
Yeah.
You probably had that task. Tell me why he deserves to be in this team.
Well, I when I started with Kerry, I used to come in and it was all AVB games at the time. So once you hit the stadium in the summer, it was AVB. I'd say twice a week, Mark. Was it like you pay an hour of football on your direct opponent every second night in training, probably?
Isn't it
and
class
every
how
time.
little teams do that now? I couldn't believe.
Yeah.
That's all we did. Match,
I think
match,
it is a
match,
bit
match.
outdated now. And it probably for this fucking reason. I went so bad because I used to get a kick off Mark. And if I didn't have Mark, I'd have Tom Sullivan. And like, I was, 19, and I was being bait out to 60% of balls. I was getting frustrated. I wasn't playing with the club. The boys were laughing at me.
It was like
So,
that clip we seen earlier in the under 12.
Same as Fionn Fitzgerald, yeah. But like, to have that experience of being absolutely out of your depth, it makes you accelerate your development because otherwise you're going to drown. And definitely did help me. But in terms of exposure to the best markers, possibly in the game between Mark and Tom, like it was an unbelievable education. And I honestly don't think that any other team had fellas of that caliber. They always had extra bodies. But Kerry could just leave the boys at it and put pressure on the ball out the field, and the boys would be fine. It was some advantage.
Did you think he'd make it?
I did. I get uncomfortable with that kind of talk, but I mean, I think James James, you knew when
6 more
James,
points.
You told me to say it in the green room before we came up.
when James,
He's reading off a teleprompter here.
when he came in first, like he was kind of like the cocky Tony, like. But we
No,
we
I don't
knew,
believe that.
We knew there was the substance behind it, and you know, we saw him with the Sem, and we saw him underage with Kerry. There was a minor blip, all right, against Cork, wasn't there? In the
A record defeat, 25 points.
there was, but like in saying that,
21 game.
saying that, like it was, we knew that James was the real deal, and we were excited. Then the fact like that we had a player who could complement the Gooch, you know, who could be there, and like so good was James that Fitzmaurice decided to tinker with our system and put Gooch out onto the 40, which allowed us. And I mean, like that game against Dublin in 13, like the sequence of plays there where Donncha Walsh is involved, James is involved, Gooch is involved. Like, I mean, you'd be trying to teach players how to play the game.
Lads, you laugh at this, right?
That's heads-up football, just moving the ball.
Your goal, Gooch's pass, where he's soloing backwards, pops it into Donncha, I think, and pops it to you, and you scored a goal. We spent, oh my, you fuck me. After that match, 2 weeks, hours on end at training, talking about Keane O'Sullivan was standing here, and we'd pause it for about fucking 2 hours ago. You should be one step over. And and Cluck goes in the background. You fucking should. I was like, oh my God, 2 weeks for that goal. We go, we won the fucking match. But that's how much. That's how detailed we were about that system and stopping it. And you kind of just literally, I can't remember who said it. Might have been Kev Mack or someone. Just goes, that's one of the best things that's ever happened in GAA. Sometimes you can't defend it. And it was Gooch moonwalking backwards and still putting a pass through like a yard space to you, to a goal. And it was like, that's what we looked at you guys. And so few people can do those things.
Mikey Sheehy, he used to always say it, like, you know, and he was the selector. You could nearly say the forwards coach would carry. And he said, like, if you have the likes of James, if you have the likes of Paul Galvin, if you have the likes of Gooch, you don't have to tell these fellas what to do with the ball. They're natural. They just do it. But getting back to the Dubs and what Paddy is saying there is very insightful, because, like, I had this chat with Paddy last week. They spent hours upon hours in you know, their attention to detail on the opposition, on their own style of play, the defending. You know, we all heard, you know, where Mick came in the 70s, and he just brought it to a new level. When Dublin came there, they brought it to a new level. Like they did, like, and geez, like what they did was just frightening. And obviously, you know, you have to have the players to complement that. But when you have the players and you bring it to that attention level of detail, you know, you're going to win All Irelands.
100%. Really enjoyed it so far. Thanks to everyone for being so attentive. It's great to have so many people here. And as some of you know, we do the pod every Monday with thanks to AIB. They're proud sponsors of the Senior Football Championship, and they made this happen tonight in the Great Southern Hotel. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in about 15 minutes. So grab a pint, do whatever you want. And Paddy Andrews, James O'Donoghue, and Mark Rochelle will be back out for a bit more. You're very welcome back to the Football Pod, live in the Great Southern Hotel with thanks to AIB. I've got Twitter open here, lads.
How's that going?
Philly McMahon and Paul Flynn tagging you in a tweet earlier on. The Dubs seem to have battened down the hatches after Glenn Ryan's comments the other day about Croke Park being an advantage to the Dubs. What do you reckon?
It probably is. It probably is an advantage to the Dubs. Like, I heard Glenn Ryan's interview, and I thought that he was, I suppose, look, first of all, from Glenn Ryan's point of view, he was frustrated that they lost the game. Okay, it was a game that was there for the taking. They didn't win it. Okay, when you're interviewed straight after, there's obviously emotion and all of that, and you could see that. No,
this was after you'd given Ben McCormack man of the match.
It was, yeah.
5 balls short into the keeper's hands.
And I tell you,
did you watch the second half?
Did you watch the run around he gave John Small during the whole game?
If you kicked 5 balls short into the keeper's hand, would you think you get man of the match?
Hey, come here, listen, get those
only
glasses checked out.
4 short.
The whole production crew was like, is Mark drunk up there?
Getting back to it, I think that, you know, I could see where he was coming from. I could see that, you know, there was emotion in what Glenn was saying. Now, look, my point in the whole thing, and you see, I just think the home games for Dublin in Croke Park is unfair. And look, you see, the reason this whole thing is being spoken about is because Dublin are so exceptional. We have to understand that, okay? We have to understand that you're talking about probably the greatest team of all times, okay?
But
so,
Marcus, it's still the same Dublin. Are they not now a wounded animal?
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I'll tell you why it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because my first game with the Kerry Seniors in Croke Park was against the All-Ireland champions Galway in 0-2. We hadn't played in Croke Park it was the new Croke Park. Paddy brought us up the night before. He managed to get us out onto the field in Croke Park. Now, you know, we had no National League game played in Croke Park. We had nothing played in Croke Park. And, Jesus, they're making some clatter down there. But anyway, like, so... So my point is this, okay? If you're a young fella from Roscommon, if you're a young fella from you know, wherever it may be, not a Leinster team, just a team maybe in Munster, Connacht or Ulster, and you're playing in your first National League game in Croke Park, it's a daunting experience. There's a lot of young fellas playing with Dublin, getting their first chance, getting 3 or 4 league games prior to championship. I think that's wrong.
Yeah. But, Tommy, my point on it is Glenn Ryan came at that argument from a complete position of weakness. Like, no top manager would have given that complaint after losing by a point or two in a championship match. Do you know what I mean? It comes across as we're making excuses. It comes across as sour grapes. That said, there is a point to be made for it, but he probably should have held it for a better time.
When do you make the point, though? When do you do it? Because it's been happening for years.
Well,
teams, Kildare teams going up to play the
You might say it in the build-up, or you might say it... He could have judged it better, but my point is, Croke Park it's being sold a dud at the moment. You should only play in Croke Park when it's almost a sellout, when it's the full Croke Park experience, when it is colour and vibrancy and entertainment and energy. There's none of that when there's 20 or 30,000 in Croke Park. I don't think it should be... Yeah, exactly, that's what I'm saying. It should not be used at that stage. It should be used only when there is a lot... No, seriously, when there is 60, 70 to 80,000 in it, which is not Ireland semi-final or final. A Leinster final, fair enough. Apart from that, forget about it.
I'm only laughing there. I wasn't laughing at you. The reason I'm laughing there is because the dressing rooms in Croke Park, the Hogan stand dressing rooms are twice the size of the dressing rooms in the Cusack stand side. I'd love to know, Paddy, did you ever go into the Cusack stand dressing rooms?
Played a primary school final.
Primary school final, that makes sense.
Primary game.
No, I swear to God, and I don't fucking like Twitter, right? And I opened my phone today, the lovely round in Tralee, with a couple of lovely Americans. Mark organised that. Come on, Mark. And come off the course, my phone was fucking electric. I was like, I've never been this popular in my life. And I was on Twitter. And it was one was this team we were picking, and Donaghy went off on one. So he tagged everyone in it.
Picked himself.
Picked, of course, yeah, not surprised.
He didn't.
But to his credit, he picked himself as a sub coming on now.
Sorry, yeah.
He picked it,
very altruistic. But it was tagged in this carry-on about the Dubs. I was doing the game live. We were having a chuckle off air about it on Sunday. I would categorically agree with the fundamentals of what Glenn Ryan was saying. I have played in these games for a decade. And I can guarantee that Dublin players, coaches, are not in any way against moving these games out of Croke Park. The only game in the Leinster Football Championship that should be in Croke Park is the Leinster final. No matter who's drawn against who, preliminary round, quarter-final, semi-final. The decision is not made by Dublin. And that's the angle that's coming out on Twitter.
Well, it's not. It's Leinster County is not voting for it.
Yeah. Leinster Council and Croke Park decide this. I get why the Leinster Council wanted these games in Croke Park during the Celtic Tiger. When Dublin, I remember going to the Dublin game against Meath in the Leinster quarter-final in 2005, and I'm sold out. 82,000 people. Those days are gone. We were there on Sunday, Mark. 4 teams, Dublin and Kildare, the two most populous counties for supporters, there was 30,000 people there. These games should not be in Croke Park. I agree with Glenn Ryan 100% on that. You'll start losing credibility when you start making an argument talking about fucking gum shields and referees' decisions on a line ball, dressing rooms, and what I was tagged in today, the music that is played on the tannoy. As if we have fucking DJ Spence up on the 7th floor.
He's a dub. He's a dub.
I'm being genuine here, right? And I'm being called out, and anyone involved in Dublin GAA in the media are being called out for not supporting this or not commenting on this. I agree wholeheartedly the game shouldn't be played in Croke Park, right?
You've always been strong on that. Yeah, you have.
I said it from day because I've played in these games. It's soulless. You ask any Dublin player now playing, they'll agree, okay? But this idea that Dublin have an advantage because the dressing room or the screen in Croke Park or the music that is played, you lose all credibility. Any rational human being understands that that is complete and utter nonsense. So when the argument by Glenn Ryan's a legend, right? Unbelievable, and Anthony Rainbow and Dermot Early and Johnny Doyle, Kildare's best ever players. But when you come out and add on to your initial argument, that type of stuff, you lose all credibility. That was my response to it on Sunday when I seen it. It was a rant. I called it a rant because it was. I don't think the game should be played there. And
That game?
That game should never have been played in Croke Park. We were there, Mark. It was nonsense. Portlaoise.
Well, you see, the thing
playoff
about it, Paddy,
Meath and Navan.
the thing about it, right, they said there was 30,000 people in Croke Park.
There wasn't even.
There was 30,000 people went into Croke Park on that day.
There was
the day
less than
for the
20.
time that the second game was on, half the Offaly supporters and the Louth supporters had gone home. So Glenn's point was, if you think about it, what he was basically saying was, sure, they weren't here for this game, and the game is being put back. So you can understand that point.
I agree with
But
Glenn.
I know that.
100%.
But my question for you is this: do you think you should be playing your National League games in Croke Park?
No.
Okay, yeah.
Carnot Park.
Yeah, well, like, I mean,
best-
the reason I say that is because, like, if we were taking
I've
on the
played-
Dubs in the National League, okay, like, I've played in games in Killarney, I've played in games in Tralee. Obviously, Fitzgerald Stadium is a bigger stadium. The atmosphere in Austin Stack Park, I think you'd all agree, is far superior for the National League game. For the National League game, you can't beat Fitzgerald Stadium for a Munster Championship game.
But Mark, I'm just saying, we agree. If you ask any Dublin player, I remember we played fucking Down, we played Roscommon. There was not even 10,000 people in Croke Park. It's soulless. It's no benefit to anyone. The best, we have said it on the pod relentlessly for the last 3 years, the best competition is the National League game, and the reason being those games. I remember those games against Kerry in the National League down the road, or in Austin Stack, or going to Castlebar, or going to Ballybuffet, or going to Omagh. But the narrative around this, and look, this is the
It's easy though for narrative.
shitstorm with Twitter that it's like, oh, the Dubs are doing this. If you ask any player, I will guarantee you, we want to play those games out there as well. The Leinster
Somebody
Council
said, though,
decided these games for the financial gain that when there was 80,000 people there, the gate receipts were distributed among the counties of Leinster.
Somebody
That was the
said-
rationale. Those days are gone.
When you played Laois, it was 2 weeks ago, the doctor was the busiest man when you passed the Red Cow because they were all getting nosebleeds in the bus. They weren't used to going outside Croke Park.
It took me 3 days to get to here.
But
No,
like,
but,
it's a
yeah,
fact
but lads, I just to clarify this because we get a lot of stick over this, right? And I'm getting fucking hassling on Twitter. I don't like getting into rows and this type of shit. Like, I find this argument catastrophically boring. I'm not interested in it. I understand the game should not be there. Yes, anyone involved in Dublin GAA, it shouldn't be there. It's not our bag. We're getting into the GAA administration, Leinster Council, Croke Park. It's their call. How in the God's name they can't make that call, I don't know.
Tommy, what's going to be, sorry for cutting across you, what's going to be interesting in the next few weeks? We're talking now about the All-Ireland series, okay? We still have the provincial finals to play. But in the All-Ireland seniors, in the championship, you've got 4 groups of 4. Like, you're going to play, I don't know what it is. Is it whatever amount of games?
Away and neutral.
Home, away, and neutral. Okay. First of all, after all these 20 whatever games, there's only going to be 4 teams gone from.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. The second thing is, after all of that, those 3 games, the home and the away and the neutral, we saw in the Super 8s, when that was there a few years ago, that Dublin had 2 games in Croke Park. Okay, so like
And Donegal brought emotion forward.
yeah,
And
who
it
didn't
wasn't
vote
backed
for that?
up by other
yeah, but I think the
It wasn't backed up.
CCCC came in afterwards.
Whose
you know-
fault is that?
I know. I'm just saying, Paddy. I'm just saying.
Paddy, we're not
And
blaming the Dubs, relax.
I'm not. But
It's
what I'm
okay.
saying, Paddy.
Relax.
I'm outnumbered, lad.
Paddy.
Will you
what-
get another
what-
pint of Guinness out
the-
there for Paddy, please, for God's sake?
I'm outnumbered.
The point I'm making, Paddy, is that it's going to be interesting to see what will happen this year for the 3 games, the home, away, and the neutral. I think that's
You'll
But
enjoy
the thing
this
is,
one,
Paddy,
right?
hang on, before you do it, like playing Croke Park, right, is an absolute privilege. And it's like, it's kind of a once a year or maybe twice a year kind of an event, right? I know fellas in this crowd who are unfamiliar with fields and they go in county league weekends to the opposition's field to have a look at it, to have a kick around. Do you know what I mean? And like that is to have a look at your surroundings, be familiar with them. Dublin are so familiar with the surroundings at the moment for playing National League, shitty Leinster Championship games. Like, it is an advantage, realistically, it is. I just think that we're losing the kind of, the image of Croke Park by not saving them for All-Ireland semi-finals and Leinster
The
finals at all.
fixtures are actually going to be announced tomorrow, and we'll know whether the Dubs get 2 games in Croker or just the 1. And
But
it
is there
doesn't
going to
matter.
be neutral games from other groups on in Croke Park? Because that's a waste of time as well.
I don't know. We'll know tomorrow.
I did the draw the other day, lads. Fuck.
and they call us cute Kerry whores.
So I slept in Croker from Sunday until Tuesday. It was great. It was lovely. And I did the draw. I was pulling out the fucking things. And Larry McCarthy, the president, was standing beside me. I was like, fuck, Larry, this is not going to go well. Pulled out Kildare and Dublin in the same pot. Kildare are doing up Newbridge, so that's not available.
Yeah.
And I was like, within that much, you're on a tight leash when you're doing this draw, lads. If the media behind the thing go, don't you fucking say it. And I pulled out Kildare and I was like, fuck, they'd probably do neutral in Croke Park, will they? And I could just think Larry McCarthy was looking at me, don't open your fucking
Talking about the football, right? And we won't linger on the Dubs. Kerry are going into a Munster final this weekend, and Jack Connor has just named his team, so I'll go through in a minute. They're playing Clare in the Munster final. It's in Ennis. Oh no, sorry, wait. Kerry wouldn't play the game in Ennis. It's in the Gaelic grounds this weekend.
That's because Clare never agreed to play
well,
home
yeah.
venues.
Oh, you're on your high horses now, lads. Should have
But
played that
you
one in
can't
Croker.
just decide a week before the game, oh, hang on, we'll make it more even, we'll put Clare at home.
Mark, looking at Dublin at the weekend and the manner in which Kildare, in ways, had that game in their hands. James, rightly or wrongly, described them as Spursy at the weekend. That they should have delivered, they didn't.
What's a worse insult, mercurial or Spursy? Spursy
Spursy,
probably
yeah.
is, yeah.
Kerry,
Spurs,
Frank
the
Lampard.
Kerry going in to play Clare this weekend. Is there a chance it could be undercooked and Clare, who have won 2 championship matches already, 2 tight championship matches against Cork and Limerick, are going to be ready to rock?
Answer that honestly, Mark.
The
Say what you said in the green.
Look, what I will say is, Paddy tipped the Dubs to beat Kildare by 20 points last Sunday. So remember that. Yeah. Anyway,
Cavan the first night.
yeah. But look, to get to it, Kerry should be, of course, they should be beating Clare well. You saw the under-20s. Clare brought it to extra time. Look, you would expect.
Clare should have won it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Colin Collins has done an incredible job in Clare. An incredible job. The game is on in Gaelic grounds. You'd actually, anytime we ever went up to Cusack Park, geez, it was always a tough game. You know, be it if you were marking David Tubridy or Michael O'Shea, God be good to him, they were 2 fantastic players. Like that you knew you were in a battle. They always had great players down through the years. At the under-20 match there in Tralee, the last night I was watching McNamara in the middle of the field. Oh my God, what a footballer. And even the last play of the game, when the ball, long diagonal, I know Kerry were 5 points up, long diagonal ball into him, and the strength, how he went up for the ball, like incredible fielding. So it'd be great to see Kerry getting a challenge like that. Like getting back to Paddy, I've said this to you. I think it's really going to bring on Dublin that they got that challenge from Kildare. Dublin
Great
aren't
game
going.
from 'em,
Yeah, Dublin aren't going to be that bad again. You'd expect Kerry to get a challenge as well, you know, from Clare. There's no doubt that they're going to get a challenge, and especially the way the game has gone and the way players are, you know, playing so defensively. catching teams in the counter. So from that point of view, it is going to be a good game. I don't see it being the 10, 15 point. What I was disappointed with from a Kerry point of view was the last day. Bar the penalty, there was no goal-scoring opportunity for Kerry. I want to see Kerry creating more goal-scoring opportunities. Like, I mean, Dublin went down to Laois, and how many goals do they have in the first? You know, so like we need to be creating more goal-scoring opportunities, and I think if we do that,
Mark, in defence of Dublin and Kerry, the reality is this new structure, and all teams are trying to find their way, figure this system out. It's relentless now. There's the provincial finals, but then from the 20th of May, it's week. Teams are probably timing the run a little bit. The reality is Dublin in the Leinster Championship, Kerry in the Munster Championship have time to even see with the team selections. They're not at the pitch of it yet. And for Kerry and Dublin, I mean, we've played in games like this. We all have, where we are winning this game by hook or by crook. And we're all humble and we're all taking the opposition, all that stuff. We are going to win this game. And that does feed in.
It does, yeah.
It does.
That's not
And you're
dangerous.
just not
Is that not dangerous, though?
I was finding
in certain games, it's not, Tommy. You don't want it to, but like,
See,
the reality is Kerry will have this against Tip a couple of weeks ago. You can't read into these games. Are you telling me, Kerry, that's the level they're at playing Tipperary? If that was a different team,
Tipper on the slide into the
exactly.
The reality for me is that you look at the bookies. The bookies rarely get it wrong. Okay, you look at.
Well, they got Mead wrong. They had Mead 8-15 against Offaly.
Yeah,
There you go.
I got that one wrong. But I said rarely. You know, rarely.
There's my one Mead mention of the night. Sorry.
Anyway,
can't believe you brought Mead in.
They said like you look back over the course of history. Obviously, the big one was '92, Clare. You look back at Leitrim '94.
In the Gaelic grounds.
Yeah, Leitrim '94. John O'Mahony was in charge of them.
Legend.
Like, you see Tipperary a few years ago winning, you know, obviously COVID year. So, like, the reality is Kerry are more than likely strong. They're going to win this game. But it's what I want to see from Kerry is how they're going to set up Tommy. You know, I mean, for me, obviously, David Clifford is coming off the end of such a long year, himself and Paddy, with Fossa and with, you know, you've Shawnee O'Shea, who's
On that,
back. There's
Mark.
players coming back.
Should David Clifford have been given the National League off? I thought it was soon to bring him in.
Yeah,
that
I
game
think
in
so.
Castlebar.
Well, like,
I was
I
so
mean,
surprised at that.
we had this conversation last week, myself and yourself, about Derry and Conor Glass and how he was catapulted straight in.
Yeah, I just
a few days after winning losing the All-Ireland Club final, right? And
They won it, but then
yeah, but you saw the injuries that he had.
Dubs Crow Park thing kicked
You
it.
saw the injuries that he had after. He tore his hamstring. Hamstring has been. He was good last week, in fairness, and he
Was
seems
good.
to
He was
he
good
seems to have
starting
been
off.
out of it. But I definitely think
But
Paddy and
if Cliffy got the league off, like, we were in danger of relegation.
No, you.
Like, I know, okay. But
I
if
don't
Jack
think
Said
Connor's
from
like,
day one, Kerry were going to be shite in the league. They'll win their home games.
Okay.
They'll be grand.
but
even
Darren
without
Roach was
Cliff.
playing corner forward, he broke his hand.
You think they need a Cliff to stay up?
I think that Jack O'Connor definitely was worried at times in that league. I'm telling you.
Oh no,
he
I
was.
agree with you, James. I agree with
He
you.
was, he was worried,
He
and he
brought
needed
Paddy
to-
on against Monaghan. Paddy
Yeah,
got the
he-
goal. Now
That
Jack
was
did
the
make
game
the
after
point.
the Fossa won.
Yeah,
whatever.
but to Jack's credit, Jack made the point that, like, there'll be plenty of times to give these fellas rests during the year. And in fairness to Jack, you know, he has the experience as a manager to
But he
kind
left
of,
Clifford
and
on
I've
the
no
whole
doubt.
game against Tip.
I know, but I've no doubt in the last few weeks, you know, we're not in there. We don't see. I'd imagine those fellas are getting their breaks. They have to, because I mean, they're going for 24 months now, and it's a long. It's
insane.
You know, yeah, it is.
But Tommy, we played. Mark, you were probably playing in 16. We played Clare away in Ennis. Do you remember Donica was sent off in the first half?
I don't remember that, but go on.
Where were you?
Right, story over.
The memory is fading, you know, to be fair, you are getting on. But
Yeah.
it was. It could have been 17, maybe. No, it was 16.
No, I think I
It was
remember
16.
somebody's.
Mark-
I didn't realise
It's
it
all
was
coming
Mark.
back
It was
now.
16.
You come on that day in the 48th minute.
Claire.
Yeah.
Jesus.
You were straight from a night out.
No, wrong person. That was the last year. Yeah, I was coming on that year, unfortunately.
But we
Not making much of an impact though.
We might
we
come back to that.
we were in trouble for a while, but that was in.
But you were down at half time, no?
We were down at half time.
You got a jammy goal.
That's why
Donegal
I
was
came
sent
on, I
off.
think.
Donegal was sent off.
Rescue
And
it, like.
Morris
why he came on.
Fitzgerald
Lazarus.
honestly came into the dressing room. This was away
Morris
to
came in.
Clare.
I
Morris
know
came in.
if Morris, I wasn't there. Morris came in the year after I was gone.
Okay, but you weren't there, so fair.
I told you I didn't
apologize,
remember it.
So you were on a night out.
But Morris came in and gave us like this unbelievable rousing speech. Like,
Morris Fitz.
yeah,
All right.
as in, lads, we're in Ennis here. We're backs against the walls. Get your shit together. And only for that, we would have probably been beaten by Clare with 14. We were down at half time and beat them by the end with 14. It was an unbelievable win at the time.
Did he do that often?
He was very good for getting the troops together and pulling us in and giving a rousing speech. But my point is that if Kerry do take the eye off the ball, or if a red card or a black card or a series of events go against them, that like this can be another Kildare Dublin, but at the same time,
Okay.
the other point to that is, and I've seen it by Kerry this weekend. There's fantastic Kerry players, right, who were released to play with their clubs last weekend and the weekend before. Like, they are fighting tooth and nail to get back into that starting team. It's almost an insult, like the cornerback thing, to be sent off at this time of year, to be sent back to your club, get a bit of form, and
That's
come
lowest
back.
of the low.
It is. So those
You're told to go
fellas
back to the club.
are going to be really making sure that if they get any few minutes against Clare, that they're going to be on it.
We're running out of time here at the Football Pod Live at the Great Southern Hotel. We are going to come back to the team and get Mark to settle on a couple of changes here. As I mentioned earlier, with thanks to AIB, we have a pair of tickets to give away to the Munster Final, 2 pairs of tickets. So we're going to pick them after the show, the winners. But if you want to be in the mix to win them, we'll give you 30 seconds. Catherine's going to be going around with the mic here. If you grab her attention, let her know who you want to put into the team, and we'll give you 30 seconds on the mic to try and convince the boys to put them in. I'm just going to go through the Kerry team for the weekend. So Catherine's going to walk around there. Just try and grab her while we're chatting here.
Jeez, there's a big crowd, isn't there?
The Kerry team for the weekend: Shane Ryan's in goals, Dylan Casey, Jason Foley, Tom O'Sullivan, the full back line. So Casey's coming in to start.
Yeah.
Graham O'Sullivan's 5, Tyke Morley 6, Gavin White 7, Jeremy O'Connor and Jack Barry in midfield, Darren Moynihan, Sean O'Shea and Paddy Clifford in the half forward line, Tony Brosnan and David Clifford, Paul Ganey in the full forward line. There was a bitter chatter after the game the last day that David Clifford didn't score from play. He kicked 2 frees, he laid on points. There wasn't that huge, pressure on him to score. You faced him as a Stry manager last year. How do you set up to stop David Clifford?
Oh, geez, I don't know where. Trying to stop, that's like trying to keep the tide out. He's incredible. He's David Clifford.
Sorry, lads. Mark's giving away some inside secrets here. Can you just?
No, do you know what? Yeah, I was with Listry last year, the last 3 years, and like I really loved my time there. Fantastic lads back there. Even starting from the chairman to the secretary, Jerome and Anthony, and even the players. Like, they're so driven, and like, I mean, every year, in fairness, we were lucky, but every year we made gains, and the biggest thing for me was. And I think when I look back in it, we had beaten Fossa last year, 2 years ago. Then we beat Fossa last year. And I just said to the lads, when we beat them in their own pitch last year, I said, Jesus Christ, I hope we don't play these lads again, because the bones apart, they're going to beat us at some stage. And like, credit to Listry, my God, they fought on their backs in the final. And I go back to Tommy. Like, you're so unlucky with certain situations. I spoke about All-Ireland finals, that the luck isn't with you. Like, Listry's 2 best players, you could say Ronan Buckley and Rory Murphy, were gone off the field towards the end of the game, especially when you needed them. And then Paddy and David, and like our full back, who used to always do brilliant on David, he got a yellow card, Paddy Lahan. So like, straight away then when he had the yellow, the boys sensed it and they just went for it,
Clifford, David went from.
Well, like, he took him on a good few times, but in fairness, that's what you're going to do if you see a fella get with a yellow card. But I suppose, you're going to try and nail down Paddy, nail down David, go to the nearest point of danger, get 2 or 3 fellas to help out. It's never going to be a one-man show, and like, I mean, the Stry fellas did absolutely brilliant, but you're talking about one of the greatest players, that's played, so it's, like I said, it's like trying to keep the tide out, and especially then when you get him into Fitzgerald Stadium, where he'll kick points for fun. Yeah. So look, it was, I loved my time with Listry. fantastic club. And you know what? The way they're going, I think they have a great chance of continuing on and winning this year, hopefully. So look, he's just incredible.
You said earlier, good players don't have quiet games twice in a row.
Yeah, well, funny enough, in the game that we played him in Fossa, he had a chance, I think, to kick the equaliser, and it was a close one in. You put your house in it for him, so he came. He came, I'd say, with venom for the final, you know. And look from a Fossa point of view, they went on, they won the All Ireland, and it was great. And I'd imagine that would give the Listroy lads, you know, the impetus now to drive on.
Are we going to touch on Paddy Clifford giving the best speech in the history of GAA? Seems we're there. The Golden Nugget's probably within arm reach, is it?
We're not going to the Golden Nugget after, James, are we? Not tonight.
What's that, the Golden Nugget?
Not tonight.
It's a bit of a trek out there now, to be fair.
Okay. You mentioned luck with management, and we're going to get to the team now in a minute, but like, Tomas obviously had a close shave with the Clare under 20s there, and they're facing Sligo now in the All-Ireland semi-final, Down and Kildare on the other side. Were you talking to him that week after it?
I was, yeah. He was, delighted to get out of jail. When you have a close shave like that. But the thing about it is, you look back at the Clare Minors 3 years ago, excellent Clare Minor team 3 years ago. So, these fellas are obviously coming. You have teams that come like that. And I don't know, was there much difference that they made? They tinkered. The one thing that they did do against Cork, they got a great start. So, it's great that they got that start, because there was a bit of fluidity about their play. But with underage football, it's very hard to say what way it's going to go.
Yeah.
Sligo have won 2 Connachts on the bounce now. Their senior team are showing a bit of momentum. Obviously, they're coming in the easy side of the draw, the senior team. But if you have a situation where you've got like the counties buzzing, that creates a bit of furore, and you'll have a huge crowd at that. So our grandmother as well is from Sligo, so it'll a bit of extra, from Ketcha so she's like that's huge, and it'll be a good game. But like I said, you don't know how these games are going to go.
With the 20s, like, it's so close to. You think it's so close to senior. You think that these fellas are going to go straight in, but like the difference in physicality and everything, is absolutely
speed
huge.
of the game.
But
is
the 20s, they need to be enjoying it. They need to be not afraid to make a mistake. They need to be able to kick the ball, turn it over in the opposition half. It has to be, kick it away and win it back. Kick it away, win it back, and play this all gung-ho football, which Kerry are playing. I saw
the other night against Cork to get everyone back. He was like,
he wasn't. He was playing. They were playing an expressive game of football where you could tell that they were enjoying it and enjoying being involved. Sometimes you think we'll get a great manager involved there, and it's like we'll watch video after video at under 20, and you're doing tactic after tactic. Under 20 should be playing ball expressively, and I can see it. There's some lads in that 20s team.
It's happening in minors, James, and like Paddy, we were at the game there. Like Jesus, Paddy and myself were above an Ohm at the weekend. The Tyrone Minors were playing in the game before it. I think it was 8-17. They were playing Antrim.
Yeah.
The Tyrone Minors beat Antrim 8-17 to 2 points.
Now Antrim could have.
Antrim were playing the blanket defence, and we were looking and going. I'm almost certain that's not the answer. Mark was fucking Twitter and everything. Don't be tweeting that.
No, I wasn't tweeting. I can assure you that.
but do you know, on that point about, because I thought Kerry were very good against. You went to the game.
I was at it in Park 3.
I thought they were very good. That young full forward is a bit of magic.
Will Shine, Legion man.
Yeah, is he? Oh,
yeah.
That's you, folks. But I watched the game, and we were chatting about, obviously, with Tomas being in charge, that they struggled to be Clare. You think Kerry being poor against Tip, the Dubs the other day as well. Like, there's no harm in that. You'd be amazed how many times a team that goes on and wins the All-Ireland getting a kick in the hole early in the championship and getting away with it. No harm, because I guarantee you, Kerry after the Tip game, Jack would have had the boys sitting down. I fucking know for a fact, Desi Farrell with the Dubs after last Sunday, be sitting down, and a few home truths. It's great if you can play poorly, win. And there's serious lessons to be learned.
Yeah.
And it's very common. It narrows the focus. For the 20s, Kerry are probably favourites for it. Good friend of mine is a Kildare coach. Buddy of mine, Brian Flanagan, they'll be in the mix as well.
Good team too, yeah.
Yeah, it's get a little speed bump along the way isn't always the worst thing. And I think I'd expect a big performance from Kerry on Sunday in the Gaelic grounds.
We're going to segue over now to our team of the decade and the big reveal. You're going to make your decisions. We actually have a question from the crowd. Eamon Breen. I think he wants to have a word here, Catherine. So is Eamon good to go?
Sorry, Tom Walsh is my name, but I think Eamon Breen.
Not even close.
Eamon Breen should be on the team, in my opinion.
I was expecting his shoulder there for a second.
Yeah.
When I heard
Sorry, Tom.
You would always see it coming from Eamon anyway, in fairness. But, sorry, I will stand up. But I think there was too many O'Shea's in the team, so I thought there was room for a knock.
So I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. I'll meet you for a pint after.
Maybe on a serious note, Aidan O'Mahony probably is one person that is omitted, and he marked some of the best forwards.
Without a doubt. Well, listen,
back-to-back finals.
That's the Jackeen's team now, you have to remember, okay? So, I mean, the team I played with, I mean, we had Diarmuid Murphy in goal. There was myself, Mike McCarthy, Tom O'Sullivan, Tomas, Seamus Moynihan, Aidan O'Mahony. You had Dara, you had Scanlon, Kirby, Tommy Griffin in the middle field. You wouldn't get much change now out of that, I can tell you. And Aidan O'Mahony, the one thing I'd say about Aidan, any day, the big day that he took to the field, and none more so than the 2014 final. James, you were there for that. He did it with McDonald in 06. Kieran McDonald scored against the Dubs. He was possibly the reason Dublin beat Mayo, or Mayo beat Dublin in the semi-final in 06. Mahoney kicked 2 points off him from centre back. In 2014, the night before the final, we had a meeting, and Mahoney told us inside in the meeting, he said, listen, he said, I'm marking Murphy tomorrow. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to beat Michael Murphy. Once everyone else inside in the room here does his job, we'll win the All-Ireland. So for me, if you have a player like that that'll go through the wall for you, you'll win a lot.
What's it like in the room when he says that?
Oh, jeez, you could hear a pin drop. It's unbelievable. We used to end up to have the meetings earlier because, Jesus, you wouldn't sleep at all. Do you know what I mean?
Genuine.
We jump out of your skin by the end of the meeting.
You'd nearly play the game then, do you know? But
Mark, we were the exact same. We moved our meetings to 2 days before.
Yeah.
Honestly, to Fridays, because lads would be coming out and you'd fucking nearly crash the car driving home. You're like shaking. But on that point, and I'm glad you asked it, right? Because a bit of crack, obviously, picking this team and some brilliant players. But we were chatting earlier because it's fucking impossible, lads. The 15 guys, whoever Mark settles on, whoever it is, are legends of the game. We've left out about, not counting myself and Jimmy, probably 100 legends.
You must be the only fellow who calls him Jimmy. Jesus, I've never heard it before in my life.
The dub thing.
Fucking hell.
But genuinely, for the players that are Aidan O'Mahony's one, Alan Brogan, Laughing, Rory O'Carroll, these guys, I didn't have Dara in. Over the last 23 years, both our counties, there's some incredible players, unbelievable players, and the tradition that both our teams have against each other. It's probably why there's a big crowd here tonight. And this started 50 years ago with Dublin and Micko and Heffo. We were always very conscious of playing Kerry, what it meant, what it represented, and we would have been the most unemotional team in the history of the fucking GAA. We didn't go in for any of that stuff, but we knew what it meant representing Dublin and playing Kerry. And the guys that whoever we Mark decides to pick, or you guys pick, just to be a part of it for us is a privilege. To be here tonight as a dub with all the Kerry lads, from my own point of view, I was delighted to be here as well. But the players over the last 23 years, the success you guys had in the noughties, we had in the teens, and it's got to go on for decades and decades and decades. And what a brilliant thing to be a part of, I think. So
We actually have a text in here from Kieran Donaghy.
Fuck. Block that, delete that.
Make it 26.
He doesn't talk much. What's he to say now?
Make it 26 or there'll be war altogether. So, Mark, let's have a look at Paddy's team one more time.
Oh, jeez.
Can you make a couple of changes for me? And we're vetoing you switching yourself out from 2.
No, Mark is in.
No.
That's happened.
I'd have Tom O'Sullivan. I'd have Tom in at cornerback. Thought he was like Tom used to kind of tune out a lot. Like he used to like to go for a few pints in Rapmore and places like that. But when he was tuned in, by God, he was like, you see the thing about Tom, that he had it over me, he had it over anyone else, was just his pace. He could start behind his man. and by the time the ball would get in, he'd be out ahead of his man. Like, just
That was
phenomenal.
like me marking Darren O'Sullivan that time.
What's that?
That was like me marking Darren O'Sullivan that time. Can't beat
Yeah.
raw pace.
Tom, yeah, so I'd have Tom in the corner.
Are we settling on the half back line? Because we don't have much time here, so I'm going to move you on to the
We'll
half
settle on the half back line.
Tomas, are we going with...
No, we're
Keane
not going with
Sullivan or
Keane
Jason
O'Sullivan.
Not
No.
Where's Mark's team? Is Mark's
No,
team?
no.
No.
No,
I'm gonna do it here.
we'll go with Tomas. We'll go with James McCarthy, and we'll go with Jack McCaffrey.
Okay.
Again, I'll go with James McCarthy. He's versatile. Tommy Walsh went in full forward. Was it the drawing or the replay? James McCarthy was able to go back, follow him back. It just showed how much they were
19.
worried about him in 19. So I'd have James centre. Look, he's 8 All-Ireland medals. What can you say? Jack McCaffrey's back. He hasn't lost any of the pace that he had. Phenomenal player. I'd have Dara and Brian Fenton. You must have been cuckoo putting James McCarthy midfield ahead of Dara. I'd have the half forward line.
Is Darren
I'd
here
move on.
tonight now? Am I safe? Don't know.
You're lucky he's not here, I'll tell you that. The half forward line, okay, Morris Fitz retired in 0-1, so for me, he was, and I include anyone in this, the most skillful footballer I've ever seen in my life. Any man that can kick a ball 45 yards out off the right and the left.
He was still the most skillful when he was selector in 2016. I swear to God, honestly, he was kicking sidelines.
Were we all in Thurles that day? Were you on the squad? You weren't on the squad, were you?
Actually, funny enough, I was sitting with my
behind
dad, Gabby Guttum, and I was on the training panel, and there was only 24 on the panel at that stage, and Tomas nearly put sending Connell into the stand, and he was sent off. And
kick you.
for the first, my father was very upset about the whole thing, and I was upset for a minute or so, and then I said, Jesus Christ, this is my chance now. I'll be in for the All-Ireland semi-final. And I got in for the All-Ireland semi-final against Meath. Jesus,
That went well.
What a baptism of fire. Wow. No, I wasn't playing. I was on the bench. But,
hospital class,
it was...
Lucky white jerseys, isn't it?
I think, actually, Tom O'Sullivan broke his draw the same day. Tomas...
Were you on the squad in Thurles for the game? Or were you in the
wasn't
stand?
on the squad. I wasn't on the official 24.
My brother was the fucking sap standing in front of Morris Fitz waving it. I was like, we were just giving him the fucking runway for the point.
He gave him a lovely line.
Yeah. I was like,
yeah.
But I remember I was at it. That's what an incredible.
Incredible. And again, Paddy, you go back to like a full stadium. That was a full stadium. Do you know what I mean? An incredible occasion.
2 weekends.
But look, I suppose we can't have Morris in there for the simple fact that he had a cameo role with Kerry in 0-1. 0-0, he had a huge role coming off the bench, and it was a huge controversy. Yeah, a huge controversy in Kerry that he wasn't starting that year. And so look, I left him out.
So your half forward line.
Half forward, Declan has to be on.
Declan's in, yeah.
Who's 10? Sorry, who's 10? Because I missed that.
Galvin Connolly.
I'd have to. I'm going to go with Galvin. I had Connolly in initially. I'm going to take him out, and I'm going to put.
Shambles, like.
I'm going to put Kilkenny in.
Okay. Why is that?
Because I think Kilkenny is just like, I go back to it, longevity. Connolly was in and out. Of course, Connolly had more skill, what he could do with the ball. But I mean, I'm talking about a game that if you want to take to the field with a team that's going to win the game for you, you watch every single part of Kilkenny's game. He's just phenomenal. He's an incredible player, and you have to have flexibility
Mark,
with your team.
I forget what year. I think it might have been 16. The year of Goff. Do you remember when Peter Crowley?
Great
Always
ref.
blame the ref. You always blame the ref.
I blame Goff.
Kev nearly killed Peter Crowley in the
He
last.
literally nearly killed Peter.
Yeah.
But
Off the top rope.
we had meetings about Connolly that year about how to stop him, and he got 10 shots off from play.
The point he got off the
No,
left.
he didn't score 10, but to actually put yourself in a position to kick 10 shots. Like, even if you missed 3 or 4 there, to keep kicking.
Lads,
Like, I just
lads,
thought he's
our team,
unbelievable.
right, for 15 years, and we'll have some of the best players that ever played the game in that team. Every single one of us, Clucko, Burno, Macker, any of the best lads, Dermo was like, we were in awe watching them train.
But you
Talent-wise.
left him out.
Yeah, for exactly what Mark is saying. Genuinely, because
Are you happy?
it wasn't as consistent. He only won 2 All-Stars. And it was like
I
the
go-
talent he had, you could hang your hat on Flynn and Kilkenny more. For pure skill, Connolly was.
I think what Galvin did
Incredible.
in 09, after the year that he had in 08, he was captain of Kerry. My God, like if anyone knows Paul Galvin, they know how passionate he is. He's an incredible character. To have that taken away from him, you know, it was huge for him. He comes back in 2009 and he wins Footballer of the Year. And in my view, he actually played better in 2010.
Yeah.
The games, he came off the bench in both the draw and the replay, Cork, in Killarney and Páirc Uí Chaoimh. My God, the kicking.
That was actually the most unbelievable performance.
He was
he
incredible
came
in
on
those
the first
games.
half in Páirc Uí Chaoimh.
Yeah,
Kerry and
no.
Cork were so tight. And he won every break and kicked past every possession. It was
Unfortunately, he left his
unbelievable.
finger inside Noam Cadigan's mouth, which
That
meant
was
he was out for
that
the
was
quarter
that was
final.
an accident, an accidental finger.
Yeah, so he himself and Tomas are missing for the quarter final. But yeah, I go
But
with
even
Galvin.
the way he riled up the Cork crowd.
Ah,
Like,
yeah.
The Cork
he
crowd
was
weren't fans,
just-
weren't they?
He was
Noel
incredible.
O'Leary.
And of all
Noel
the-
O'Leary and
Yeah.
Galvin, yeah.
Of all the strong characters he had back then, was he one of the standard setters?
He would be, yeah. I mean, we played Armagh 06, and like, you know, when you had a fella like Paul, I remember like Kieran McGeaney was out in the middle of the field that day. Big, strong man, Kieran McGeaney. Galvin went out there. He was actually manhandling. Galvin used to, you know, he used to be at home watching the TV. He'd have arm weights in his hand, and you might laugh, but like he was ahead of his time. And the reason, I don't know which one of you said it, he was the best man to win a break. He'd go in there with his arms and he'd actually pull the ball from you, like he'd snatch it from you. And you know, he was just incredible at what he did off the field.
Do you know what Calvin used to do in the dressing room? Do you remember? Before the game, we weren't big into weights at the time. It must have been 2010, 2011. He put Mike Quirk on his back and squat him. I swear to God, he'd do a set, he'd do a set of 8. Alex. And Mike could tap him and go, good set. Good set.
He's had enough. Wrap
least-
this up. This is the sending it the first.
At least Mike Kirk was good for something. But anyway, going back to going back to
We're going to have to wrap this up, lads.
yeah,
There's a lawsuit coming in.
he was phenomenal. Just a quick one before we go.
Great man.
Yes.
Pat the Bag asked myself and Galvin to go up and get just go up to O'Neill's and pick out a bit of gear for the championship ahead. So
What year is this?
this was the year Paul was captain, so I said I'd tag along, and
Jesus Christ.
we went up. But the week previous, I had been in Dublin with my uncle Paddy. He brought me into a beautiful steakhouse. Jesus Christ! But anyway, we went up anyway, and we went in and we picked out. So Paddy Russell, the referee, Paul threw the notebook out of Paddy's hand. So it was only myself and the bag going up to Dublin. Paul was gone for the year. Up we went anyway. We did our business on the Long Mile Road in O'Neill's. We had a bit of time to kill before the plane down. The bag says, we'll go into town, we'll get a bit of lunch. She says, do you know any good place? She said, yeah, I've one good place there we could go to. So in we go to Shanahan's on the Green. It's a 5-star steakhouse. In we went anywhere for lunch. 2 steaks cost €60 each anyway. So I tell you, we had a good day out in Dublin anyway, and we got our flight down and our bellies were full. But County Board picked up that tab, thanks be to God.
Full forward line, Mark, before we wrap.
Well, look, I mentioned that at the start. Gooch is nailed on.
And just to mention, we've left off Footballer of the Year, Michael Darragh Macaulay. Hasn't got much of a mention. Footballer of the Year, Alan Brogan, who you gave a bit of a slag at earlier. And I think he's still WhatsApping you there. And a Footballer of the Year beside you here in James.
In all, Joe, we're joking here tonight with lots of things, but can I just say about Alan Brogan? There was a few years there where he was absolutely unmarkable. And like, if you went out, I remember Jack O'Connor told me one year, he says, you keep this fella to 3 points. He says, you've a good day's work done. You know, he was just electrifying. He was fearless, fantastic footballer.
Mark, he was Dublin's best forward for 5 years straight. When
Yeah.
He didn't have fucking anyone else. And it was just timing, genuinely. And we had it with Kieran Whelan as well, who had a brilliant career and was so important to Dublin in tough times. I was blessed to be part of a team. At the time, it was working. Alan was there in the noughties with Pillar, and he was the fucking only man, really, at the highest quality. And I was delighted for him. Obviously, the 11 winning the All Ireland, and his last kick with Dublin, last ever kick, was 15 into the hill against Kerry.
Oh yeah,
Unbelievable.
Great score. And like he got that ball. We talk about great scores. Michael Donnellan
In his
won in
21.
98.
In his 21, yeah.
Yeah, Michael Donnellan's won in 98, where he gets the ball down the 21. He goes all the way up the other end. But that point, and it, you know,
I was fucked. We had to send the stretcher out from about an hour later. He was fucking gasping still. I was like, Alan, come on, we're going for a pint. Like.
Yeah.
But imagine what a fitting end for a Dublin legend. That was his last thing to do for the Dublin.
Yeah,
I'm
unbelievable.
surprised he didn't go pure Dublin and drop it short and get a flick into the net.
We planned them. That was our plan.
I go with Berno full forward.
Yeah.
Or David Clifford full forward. Sorry, and Berno on the corner.
And Gooch the other side. Perfect.
Gooch the other side.
Are we all in agreement?
So I think that was 9. Is it 9-6 Kerry? Is it?
9-6 Kerry. Yeah, I'll double check it now after the show. This debate can continue in the pubs at Killarney over the next little while. I just want to thank the Great Southern Hotel here. It's been great, a great venue. I want to thank you all for coming out today. It's been fantastic to have the show here down in Killarney. James, your homecoming. We got here eventually. Big thanks to AIB, who help us put the podcast together every Monday. You can check us out there if you're not subscribed already. Do that.
Hashtag the toughest for more.
Hashtag the toughest for more.
James,
I'm going to get you that now. AIB have also put up the tickets. So Tom, put up your hand later on. Yeah, we'll sort you out now with tickets. Thanks for your question earlier on. I'd like to thank our events team here tonight: Seaford, John, Ben, Jack and Rachel, Chris Keane and Dan on video, Andy on sound, Catherine has been producing the show tonight, and to our guests tonight, our special guest, Mark O'Shea. You've been an absolute gent. Thanks a million. I definitely mentioned Catherine, our producer, didn't you?
You did, yeah.
We killed it.
You did.
Thanks, Catherine. Fair play. Paddy Andrews, James O'Donoghue. Well done, fellas. Another show in the books. Thanks, folks. Thank you.
The Football Pod on Off the Ball.
In partnership with AIB.
Proud sponsors of the GAA Senior Football Championship.
Check out #TheToughest for more.